G'day and welcome to On The Esky. Boys, we are live from day 4, session 1 over there at the Oval. Can the Aussies win the 5th test and win the Ashes? A Desmond Tutu would be a bit of a disappointment, you'd think, from here, but the odds are definitely against us. All the weekend's footy action in the Rugby League and AFL. Panthers, Broncos, Storm looking pretty good in the league. And the Blues shock the Magpies in front of 87,000 at the G Friday night. Football, the world kind. The Matildas facing an uphill battle to try and get out of the group. And Mbappe gets offered $1 billion. Yes, $1 billion from Dr. Evil. I mean, Saudi. The NFL,
hot.
Yeah, that's right. The NFL season is just around the corner. Jonathan Taylor wanting out of the Colts and quarterback doing a bit on Netflix. Speaking of, he's not wearing 12 actually, is he?
He's wearing 8.
He's wearing 8 at the Jets, but we've got his fake jersey up there, which has tape over it like a rugby league logo. And the final round, UFC 291, occurred today. It was absolutely stacked. Justin Gaethje, the BMF, plus a bit of F1 Belgium. We do have timestamps on YouTube. You can skip to the sports that you like. We do have socials. Check us out there. And please do hit that subscribe button. We start off the show by shouting a beer or a nice...
Bundaberg.
Bundaberg. Footy was in Bundaberg today. Non-alcoholic beverage. We've finally finished the Coast Ales that have been in Monkey's fridge for, 9 months?
9 months,
Yeah,
thereabouts.
the best part of it. So, well done.
Yeah.
Well done, Peppy, for getting through 80% of that.
Yeah.
I might give it to you, actually, Monks. Would you like to start us off with your shout of beer? It's not strictly sport-related, but it's a great story.
No. I mean, yeah, you could probably throw it in under motorsports, maybe.
Adventure sports, there you go.
Adventure, yeah. Extreme.
Extreme mud cutting.
So I'm shouting a beer to a group of lads up in Darwin who decided one weekend at the pub that they'll try and drive their car from one side of the Darwin Harbour to the other. You might think that that's not too hard or anything like that, except they tried to drive underwater. So yesterday, or over the weekend rather, they drove a converted Land Cruiser across Darwin Harbour from Mandorah to Mindil Beach. So obviously they didn't build the car over the weekend. They probably spent months building it, converting it from petrol diesel engine to an EV. And then they drove it 7 Ks to depths of around 30 metres underneath the Darwin Harbour, having to tackle saltwater crocs, sharks and pipe gas lines, gas pipelines, sorry.
I was like, sounds fun to me.
Shouting there in beer for an awesome feat.
The crew of the Mud Crab, for any listeners overseas. Darwin is where the big saltwater crocs live, so I wonder if they encountered any. But good on them. That's a James Bond-esque crossing there, isn't it? Shauno, who are you shouting to be?
Before we get into that, I think, Jimmy, can you change it from keeping up appearances to the Ashes, please?
little switch from Gem to we're on the actual Channel 9 tonight, which is good.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting they keep putting us on Gem, considering I think the Ashes has been out having better viewerships than the Rugby League, than the Bledisloe last night. People like to tune in for the cricket.
Especially when it's up against such red-hot rugby league games like Dragons, Tigers, etc.
So shout out beer. For me, I'm going to have a bit of a big tab. I'm going to shout out the Australian swimming team for their domination in the pool at the World Championship. As of, I think last night they had 10 medals, 10 gold medals that was. So they've essentially blown everyone out of the water to the point that the US channel, which I think is either NBC or CBS, televising the event, decided to change their sort order from total gold medals won to total medals overall, considering how dominant the Australians had been and the fact that the Chinese had more, the French had also equaled them. So, they had 25 total medals, but only 3 golds as of last night, with the Australians dominating, winning most of their events with 10. I think they had another one last night, so I think they're probably up to about 11 at the moment, plus a whole bunch of world records to follow as well. it's been an absolute domination in the pool. 2 years out from an Olympics, so it's a perfect kind of timing to get going for the Aussies.
1 year out from Olympics.
1 year out of them, sorry. Yeah.
I was like, geez, have I lost a year in my brain? Possibly.
Yeah, that's where we get most of our medals in the Olympics, and big shots fired.
Yeah,
You're out.
real promising.
Well, you go.
I was just going to say you might have to hold on to a few of those beers because a lot of our swimmers are like real young as well.
Yeah,
Breaking world records is absolutely crazy.
Put them on Libo and hit me up later.
Yeah.
For beers.
Beers. We're reiterating that. I'll shout a beer, keeping the theme going to Aussies that are getting in the right shape for an Olympics next year. Jessica Hull, she smashed the Australian record in the mile in the athletics, running 4:15:34, which took nearly 3 seconds off her own PB. It was a lightning fast race, actually. 5 of the top 8 fastest miles ever were run in the race, and Kenya's Faith Kipyegon broke the world record. She actually was 8 seconds ahead of Jessica. So very, very quick race, and girls getting very close to running that elusive 4-minute mile.
Yeah, that's absolutely crazy.
Let's run that into a mop of the week. We're all just a bit stunned then. I think that's Stuart Broad.
Aussies leaking
hitting someone for a 6 there, isn't it?
More short stuff, just
backs away, straight out of the
out.
hay diddle diddle, and that is 6 runs, 2.
We'll talk about it in a minute, but yeah.
Stuart Broad off Starkey.
Wasting runs like these 20-odd runs like this is it could be the end. Like they could be just too many for the Aussies.
I'm going to talk
Pitch him up. Thumbs, please.
All things cricket in just a moment. Let's get through this mop of the week. Shauno, can you take us away with this one?
Yes. We'll keep. I don't know. Rugby league's probably had a fair few of our mops, but we'll get a broad mop on this one because the continual lack of negotiations for an enterprise agreement between the NRL and the Rugby League Players Association continues, and was escalated during the week to the point that. What is it? Strapping tape sold out as they had to cover up all the logos on jerseys, forgetting to do the pants, of course, but they did cover up the main ones on the chest. To send another shot that, hey, we're heavily into this boycott. I'm not sure how many rugby league games you guys have been watching, and have you noticed much difference without having the players give their usual adjectives and phrases, etc. So,
well, I'm not a big fan of the halftime interview, to be honest. I think that one can definitely go, but definitely like hearing from a post match. There's also a bit of chat during the week that the Dally M might not go ahead, so they're definitely still trying to play hardball. It's also, Clint Newton's role as the head of the RLPA has sort of come under fire because of how long and drawn out this is.
It's not his fault though. I think it's gross the fact that how hard the media being in the NRL's pocket essentially, because that's especially the shows we're talking about that talk about this.
Well, one in particular,
that have getting stuck into Clint Newton when he's been elected as their representative, and everyone that this comes out in their support for him has said, that's all bullshit, and it is. It's all just beat up by the NRL to paint that picture that players are greedy and they don't want to come to agreement. They're going to bankrupt the game, which is just not true. And the league itself is really. I think the big difference, like say from the NFL to here, is they haven't held out. You're not having players not playing and having the replacements essentially. But hopefully we don't get to that sort of escalation and say for next season if nothing happens. But it just is just bad and a shit show, I think.
Got anything there on the financial side of things?
So there are a lot of points that I suppose the RLPA have with the current or what is to be the new bargaining agreement. So a lot of it is actually not so much in terms of financial, like how much they're getting paid and stuff. Like the NRL is trying to tweak that and trying to add in extra costs as part of the whole package to what the players get. reducing their pay, but a lot of it's also to do with like the season schedule. So players want to have, and clubs want to have a bit more say in how many games get added to the season, negotiate that. Yeah, that's it. And also player data, apparently, according to the RLPA, some of the data that's collected around the players, medical and personal information, is allegedly doesn't comply with privacy laws. So they probably just want to bring back some of the ownership of their own personal information and data rather than just handing it all over to the NRL, who could probably use it for whatever they want.
Sell it to Facebook.
That's it. Well, I suppose long-term, like medical insurance, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's probably pretty hairy topic to touch on. And
there's been heaps of reports about different bits of money and stuff like that they the NRL's like not reporting essentially the players. Like there's reports about 50 mil that they found last year that the players weren't involved in. So to me, it seems kind of dodgy. And then you have guys like Gordon Tallis who, doesn't understand why they're doing this, et cetera, but this is a bloke that sat out a year and went and played Super League. So, like he has no right to talk in this regard. So, yeah, there's so many shields there for the NRL.
And that against the Raging Bull is your comments and not the comments. You can take it up.
That's it. But yeah, even
he's just got he's got a 360 gig in place in Kenny. Like that's, it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is.
And even back to Clint Newton. I think in the news this week he had been talking to the secretary of the ACTU, so he seems to be getting more advice. So that doesn't sound like this is going to be ending anytime soon either.
Yeah, and the whole union chat's quite interesting because it's not hugely prevalent as much in Australia, and there's been struggles, of course, in the US. But then you've got the writers' strike and the actors' strike going on over there at the moment. So it's quite an interesting time for unions, and especially like this big one for the Players Association here in Australia.
I have to have a chat with our podcast union and sort out a couple of extra dollars per episode.
Yeah, we need a HR here first.
All right, boys. Should we talk some cricket?
Yes.
Let's get into some cricket.
Announce what just happened? Oh, wait. Yep.
Yeah, so England are all out, 395. We did leak a couple there at the death, but we will get to that when we wrap up.
So 383 to chase?
383, yep, it will be what's required.
Feels more comfortable than having a 4 in front of it.
It does. It still hasn't been done very often. I've got let's talk about it right here because I do have the all-time highest successful run chases. So there's only 4 that have been over 400. And if we get 383, that will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That will be the 8th highest total ever chased in Test cricket. So definitely a tall ask. And you see us in recent times don't really appear on that list very, very often. There was one against Pakistan in 1999 where we chased 369 down. So it's going to have to it'll be our biggest 4th innings run chase if we were to get it since 1948. That said, stranger things have happened. Let's wrap up the first.
How did we get here?
The first 3 days of the test. Yes, how did we get here? And looking at the teams, Cam Green unfortunately missing out. There was a lot of speculation into the test that there is only a room for one all-rounder with Todd Murphy being underutilised in the 4th test, and perhaps this oval deck offering a little bit more spin than Old Trafford. So Todd Murphy comes in, and in hindsight, that was a good decision.
Yeah,
and poor Cam Green misses out. Boys, what do we think about the selection?
Yeah, I think it ended up being a good selection, and Todd Murphy did a solid job with the bat when we needed it as well. So I think he added the variation, the change-up they really needed in this. And most of the big partnerships here was the reason they break them up. So he kind of really started some of those momentum changes, but give credit to England, especially in that second innings, for batting their way through it. But I think he was a good addition in this one and has bowled pretty well, I thought. With a deck that hasn't really given him much because we're only in day 3.
True that.
What about Mitch Marsh for Cam Green?
Yeah, well, Mitch Marsh pretty much undroppable after that ton in the 3rd test, and after having so much time in out of the Test side to come in and stand up like we needed him to in that third Test.
His cricket in England, his record in England is very, very good, and I think it's essentially just continued. That's obviously the conditions and his style of play really suit playing out here. He's batted really well. He didn't bowl in much in the back end of the fourth Test because of a back strain, I think, from memory. But he bowled in this and was maybe a little bit more expensive and didn't get as much swing as he had in the past couple of games. But I think, again, did his job. Really, I think solidified that middle where the Pommies really couldn't go after them with the short stuff like they did in the third Test. I think it kind of forced them into a little bit of different mindset, which I think benefited Head and Carey around him.
Strange world, isn't it? The Australian Test cricket team. You would have thought, a few months ago when Cam Green was scoring that ton in India and, fielding the way he does at Gully and bowling a few handy overs, you would have thought he would be close to undroppable. But things do change, and it's going to be an interesting selection issue moving forward into our summer as well. But
heaven forbid we get to where India and have the depth where we can pick horses for courses.
Yeah, it's at the all-rounder position, maybe it's getting that way. It's definitely not that way for openers.
No.
All right, so we win the toss, first toss in the series that we win, and we have a bowl.
I think he called the tails as well, so 5 tails, and he finally got one.
Yeah, has it all been tails? Tails never fails.
Mm-hmm.
The first 5
And England, really off the back of some pretty poor fielding from Australia, get a Bazball-esque 283. They went at nearly 5.2 and over.
54 overs?
Yeah, 54 overs, so only slightly more than a one-day innings. And Duckett was the first to go for the Poms. Pretty streaky kind of innings. He nearly chopped on a couple of times.
The first hour for the Australians with the new ball wasn't real great in both innings, but definitely in the first.
Yeah, and it was just fielding, really, wasn't it? That Warner drop on 30, it's a pretty regulation kind of catch. It was moving pretty quick, but he got 2 hands to it. You got to eat them for brekkie. Luckily, it didn't cost us too much because Duckett then he clipped one off his gloves, and no, there wasn't a bit of a half-hearted appeal. It's a good thing that they reviewed it because definitely touched his gloves, and Duckett went. And then Zach Crawley, after a very, very tough chance, goes down from smudger, full horizontal, diving to his right. He goes for 22. And then when Joe Root chopped on, and they're 3 for 73, you'd think the Aussies right on top there at the end of the first session.
Yeah, definitely. And then Harry Brook comes out and we dropped him as well.
On 5. And that turned out to be the biggest drop. Poor Alex Carey, he's been pretty bloody good with the gloves all series, but you do probably expect him to take those. It was a reasonably tough chance, sort of going low and right.
I think he just made
single-handed.
I think they covered it. They made the commentary covered it. They kind of made the wrong decision to go at it with one. It was probably close enough that he could have got both hands out to it and maybe made it more guaranteed, but it just hit the palm real hard and bounced out. So I think he was disappointed in himself and maybe just misjudged how far he had to lunge to get to it. But yeah, that ended up being the massive one because he went on to score another 80 after that.
Yeah, pivotal moment in the Test match, and if we do lose this one, which is looking reasonably likely, it might maybe come down to that. We'll talk about it. And if you do hear a few oohs and ahs through the coming hour and a half, and hopefully it's not shit and fuck. That'll probably be Aussies losing their wickets as the boys go out to bat. Moeen Ali got cleaned up by Todd Murphy.
Pulled his groin as well.
In the first over, pulled his groin. Throwing the kitchen sink at it. That's what you do sometimes. There's definitely a plan to attack Murphy. He'd hit him for a 4 in that over and then just play it all around it. And Murph gets his first wicket of the Test with that one.
It was a great change up there from Cummins as well, because knowing that Moeen was struggling with his groin, they bring Murphy out, and then Murphy just kind of brought him forward to make it more difficult for him to lunge to the ball, and he lunged for this one, couldn't get there, and bowled him. So yeah, I think it was. I think I said it to you boys. I think this first day was probably one of the best days I've seen from the Australians in the field, besides the drop catches. But their game plans, the fielding, the change ups were almost on point. Every time they made a change and came up with something else, it got wickets and they got breakthroughs. So I thought they did a really good job in that. regards, besides the 3 drops we mentioned before.
Yeah, so in terms of execution,
Yes.
not
Like
the best, but you like the game plan and the
in
fields.
In this series, like it was, the best that I think I've seen from them. They seemed on, they seemed committed, and outside of dropping a couple of tough chances and one they definitely should have gobbled up. It was overall much better than it had been in recent tests.
Had a bit more of a plan or strategy to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Speaking of best of, you don't see too many better balls than the peach that Ben Stokes got from Mitch
Beautiful.
Stark. It swung late. It took the top of his off peg. He thought that was going onto his pads, really. The line that it was probably middle and leg, and it ended up swinging late and castled him. And his face said it all as he went back to the pavilion with the old raised eyebrows. And sometimes you just get a good one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Johnny Bairstow, he has had an up and down series. It was down in this knock, inside edge trying to cover drive, and goes for 4. And at this stage, 6 for 208. We're right on top, but that pesky tail just keeps wagging. So Brooke goes just after. So it's 7 for 212, and then there's a 53-run partnership between Mark Wood and Chris Wokes. England were unchanged. We didn't talk about them in the selection side of things, but they looked so much more dangerous with Wood / Wokes in for Robinson and a spinner, in my opinion. So thank you to the England selectors for not going that combination, although one was unavailable for the first test. But they offer a little bit with the bat, and Chris Wokes in particular, he looked pretty good. He can hit Mitch Stark back over his head. There's not many bowlers that can do that at the bottom of the order. So what they make 283
Yep.
they make. Starkey 4 for 82, expensive but got some poles. He was probably the pick, and Murphy 2 for 22, Richie Beno of his 6 overs, warranting his selection. We went out to bat then late on day one and got through just losing the 1 wicket. It was Davey Warner. No, it wasn't Stuart Broad that got him, although Broad thought he had his man on 12, had hit his arm. And Uzi played pretty slow for his 47. But
Australians played slow.
well, speaking of, Marnus, my goodness, 9 off 82, old school sort of innings, and it took an absolute screamer from Joe Root diving to his left to dismiss him. And Marn took his sweet time. He chewed up 82 rocks, but you can do that because a draw doesn't hurt us. You can get into that mindset, though, I suppose, sometimes when you're a little bit too defensive and it's not progressing along well. But it was an old school kind of approach from Labuschagne and Khawaja.
And I think, and you've seen it across all the test matches, the Australians haven't really worried about the time because the way the Pommies go out and bat and play, that they go through their innings very quickly. There's going to be plenty of time left in a match for the Australians to take as long as they want to bat. The Army's going to have 2 full days to chase this total down. So
Time is not an issue.
Yeah, time's not an issue.
The attrition side of things as well. They've got 4 fast bowlers, just wear them down, let them keep pounding.
Yep, Stokes hasn't really been bowling because of his bad knees.
Correct.
So, yeah, exactly. But I think on Marnus' side, they probably lack just rotating the strike a bit. You just see if they can get a single here and there and just keep the scoreboard ticking over, which I think kind of led into a bit more pressure later on.
Outwalk Smudger. He averages 160 in the first innings at the Oval. Pretty handy. The run out or the near run out was interesting. Bairstow, he just clipped the stumps with his gloves and dislodged one of those bails before. Luckily for us, he did because Smudge was just short.
Yeah, well, from what I saw from the third umpire going through it, there was a frame where you could see a bee's dick of the bat over the line with the bail still in its pegs, and it hadn't kind of popped out. So based on because they went, he spent like 3 minutes going back and forth.
It took a long time
to go back and forth to get that right frame, but I think he eventually got the frame that he wanted to see. That it was, it was a super close one.
But it didn't come down to that. It came down to the fact that Bairstow's gloves had dislodged the bat. So it didn't matter where the bat was.
Yeah.
Could have been a metre out of his crease if that's what happened. But got away with one. Sometimes when Smudger gets a life like that, he goes on to score 200. Not the case here, but innings topping 71. in this one, and it started running out of partners. I think that was probably why he got out. Our middle order, it was a bit of a middle order collapse, really. Travis Head goes to Broad.
Broad looked on.
Broad was very on that little spell. I hate because he got Aussie with LBW, and he does that. He just starts celebrating. He doesn't even turn around and appeal. And fuck, I hate it. It is so funny though when he does it and it's not out. But that one was out, and that's what triggered the little collapse of Aussie, Trav, Mitch Marsh, Alex Carey, Mitch Stark, and then there was a good little partnership in there between Cummins and Smith, and then Cummins and Murphy.
Yes. And Harry Potter.
Cummins, 36 of 86, good captain's knock, batted for 2.5 hours.
Needed it.
Yeah, really needed it. But batted with a little bit of luck. Like he got a nasty bumper by Broad and managed to get that over Bairstow's head, and was French cutting for fours, but took a good catch from Stokes, doing the T20 juggle to dismiss him. And then what about Harry Potter?
Yes.
Harry Potter can bat. He can bat. Hooking Mark Wood for 6 is something that our top order struggled to do that with the pace of Wood. So good on Todd Murphy, 23-year-old out there, sending a bloke bowling 150k thunderbolts over deep backward square, and that 49-run partnership really important with Cummins, because it's been something that we haven't done as well as England in this series is getting the tail wag. The tail wags the dog. Was that the Wiggles concert a couple of weeks ago with the daughter? Only one left. Original, that is. There is.
I thought you were talking about your daughter. I was like, where the fuck are you going with this?
Yeah, I only have one. Only one original wiggle. Original wiggle. Yeah. From Wiggles chat to the bowlers of England, Chris Wokes 3 for 61, very tidy, as well as Stuart Broad with his 2 for 49. And Joe Root.
Shit gets wickets.
Yeah, shit gets wickets sometimes. 2 for 20. A pretty deliberate plan, I thought, with that Carey one. He got slogged, swept for 6, and then he had Stokes at that sort of catching cover point. And
I think that's a bit going to be an issue for Carey, because they targeted him for, he loves the reverse sweep. He loves sweeping, and, that was a bit of a weakness, of course, coming out of India. And, they threw Root on to, get him to double up. Because I think he hit the first one before for 6, and then the next ball he was out.
Well, there was nothing wrong with his sweep shot. That was the slog sweep. He's fucking sent that 10 rows back, but pretty much straight down Stokes' throat the next ball. All right, England go out and have a really good second innings. And this one, not really on us dropping catches, just more on England being pretty good.
Got some starts and managed to convert, I think was the main thing. There was a bit of a period where I think after Stokes and Harry Brook both went very quickly that maybe we could get on top of this game, but then they just came out and kept batting, and you're just like, fuck. Root, damn it.
Yeah, that was Root and Bairstow, that partnership from the top.
Massive partnership.
Yeah, Duckett. He's had a lot of these sort of starts. He made 42. And Zach Crawley, 73. This bloke who at the start of the series, I wasn't too concerned about at all. We mentioned before he made that big 100, he was averaging 33 or 34 or something, pretty useless. And his intent, the way that he drives the ball has been really good. So credit to him. He's probably locked down his opening position for quite some time now, which is a position that England have really had a bit of a carousel over the last sort of 5 or 6 years. Really, since the Cook and Strauss days, they haven't really had a solid opening pair, and we've definitely saw that in the last Ashes Down Under, and even going back to 2019 when the likes of Burns and Denley and all kinds of openers were going through it. So he finishes the series with 480, which for now is the most. Usman could definitely catch him with some runs here. Averaging 53, striking at 89. So playing the Bazball-esque.
Very positive.
Yeah, Bazball-esque
nearly all
tactics.
Of them. They all batted very high, like very positive in this.
So, yeah, big for Crawley and his role as a Test cricketer moving forward. Stokes up the order to 3 after,
Moen's injury.
After the adductor tactics from the Aussies. and Stokesy was pretty good there with 42, pretty handy partnership with Joe Root. And we've got to talk about Joe Root because he was back at it again. He was ramping sixes, just looking like one of the best batsmen in the world. And was lucky that we did pick Mark Murphy. Shout out to former Carlton stalwart Mark Murphy. Good thing that we picked Todd Murphy, who bowled a good ball with a nice bit of drift and stayed low and spun. And I think there might have been a little inside edge on it, but it castled Joe Root in the nervous 90s.
Well, he got Root and Stokes in this. So
Yeah, big wickets.
Yeah,
Big
big
wickets.
wickets.
Bairstow, he's hot or he's cold. He's yes or he's no. He's Katy Perry, isn't he? Probably not as good looking. He made 78. He again was looking pretty good. He just wanted to hit everything to the ropes and got schnicked up, flashing outside off Starkey, and then we for once didn't really allow too much of a tail wag with Wokes and Wood going reasonably cheaply, and Todd Murphy finishing with 3 for 110. Who got that last wicket?
Murphy.
Murphy, so 4 for 110. Murphy finishes with 6 wickets in the test. Good for him. Starkey also with a 4-for.
Yeah, give Moen a bit of credit for facing 38 rocks with no legs underneath him. So, doing a bit of a Nathan Lyon going out there. I don't think. Well, again, he's not going to bowl on this. I don't think he's going to feature at all in the rest of this Test match, and unless some magic recovery between now and then. But yeah. So what we had Stuart Broad get out in the last one, or was it Jimmy Anderson? Who was the last wicket?
Anderson was
Anderson
last. Yep.
So Stuart Broad
Not out.
But then
Let's talk about Stuart Broad.
yeah, it leads into announcing his retirement. And do we have to talk nicely about him? 600 plus wickets.
Yeah, I'll give a bit of credit where credit's due.
Yeah.
And we'll get to Anderson in just a second. It's the most prolific bowling partnership of all time, really.
Yep.
The
Over 1,000 runs between
the longevity of both.
1,200 runs between
Both of them has been insane. Obviously, we've spoken ad nauseum about the battle with Warner and his real dominance over David Warner and how much that sets the tone of these Ashes series. Especially in England.
Because he didn't get him in the first innings, he won't break the record, which I think is held between Glenn McGrath and someone at the moment.
Interesting. That's
He had got him 18 times or 19 times. Well, even if he gets him here, it'll be 19, but it won't break the record.
I don't know if those numbers are correct,
No,
but
it's
there or thereabouts.
in that ballpark. So,
Yeah.
yes.
Anyways,
Jimmy can fact check it.
that's a hard one too.
Yeah.
Well,
So if you figure that one out.
you should be able to find that out.
What am I looking for?
You're looking for
Massive wins.
batsman dismissed most times by one bowler, something like that.
Right.
So he's announced that he'll be retiring. England don't play Test cricket for at least 6 months until they play India.
Yep.
So he's hanging up the boots, and it makes you sort of wonder: does Jimmy Anderson join him? He's older, and his body's been through a little bit more.
It's quite interesting because I heard with Wokes as well, Wokes is not planning to bowl outside of England too. So he's going to pick and choose here when he plays for England. So he's not going to essentially travel. So it'd be a big kind of turnover in their back end of their team. And I think I said that a couple of weeks ago where most of the team's pretty old as well, getting up there in ages. So, yeah, it's they've got need some of those young fellas come back through, and the old guys are probably getting pretty close. So Jimmy's probably getting to the back end.
Yeah.
We'll just follow up that. Yeah, that's that there.
Go for it, Jimmy.
It's that man that's in the commentary box right now, Mike Atherton. He was Glenn McGrath's bunny, and it was 19 times, correct on that number, but 17 is the amount of times that Broad's got Warner. So like you
So
said,
he could get 18 if he gets
but
him
he
here.
can't.
But he can't break the record.
Correct.
Which is a good thing for us.
Yeah, I reckon. Look at the other names on that. Bedza and Morris, that's a long time ago. Curtly Ambrose, Mike Atherton. Courtney Walsh, Mike Atherton.
Oh, Mike Atherton.
Athers.
He just batted for ages. And
Poor fella, though. Look at McGrath, Ambrose, Walsh.
Yeah.
Pretty handy.
Yeah.
And that's a good little segue.
Ambrose got War as well.
Well, this is a good little segue into the next discussion, which is that Ben Stokes called Jimmy Anderson the greatest fast bowler to ever play the game. Now, obviously,
Depends on what you're looking at.
teammates want to pump up each other's tyres,
Yep.
but it
Fair.
sparked a little bit of debate amongst us this week, and it's
Yeah.
not clear-cut fast bowlers who the GOAT is. It's not like Don Bradman, GOAT, Shane Warne, GOAT. You can't even... it's just Shane Warne. There's no other spinners. That's just the discussion.
Legit legal spinners.
Whoa. We've got the Saudis coming for us at the start of the show. That's all of Sri Lanka too. But it led us into a bit of discussion and who your fast bowling goat is and what's the criteria.
Yep.
So if it's longevity, obviously Jimmy Anderson
most
is
wickets.
your best. 690 wickets to play 183 Test matches as a fast bowler is obscene. And 26 is a pretty handy average, but my point was he's never done it against us. Not consistently. A few Ashes, he's had the better of us, but it's really been Stuart Broad that's been the real thorn in our side.
And England play a fuckload of Test cricket as well.
Correct.
And not all of it's based on the Big Four, Big Five, whatever you want to call them. They do play a lot of cricket.
So through 39 tests against Australia, Jimmy Anderson averages 35 and strikes at 72. There's hardly GOAT kind of numbers. I don't have, Ambrose or Walsh or someone that really had the better of us in the 70s.
There was
the West Indians.
Heaps of fast, because I was looking at it, there's heaps of fast bowlers where averages 20s or low 20s as well. So his average at 26 would be higher on that end.
It's still good.
It's still
a good,
but it's not the best. Is what we're getting at.
And it's not the best against the best. Yes. I think is possibly more pertinent. And then I think you saying Richard Hadley that's a pretty good shout.
Because I was looking at trying to find lots of wickets, low average, and then I think the big thing that stood out for me was the most 5 wicket hauls in an innings and the most 10 wicket matches, and he had both of those for a fast bowler. It was the top, and he was the first fast bowler to 400 wickets as well, that I found out. So I was just like, that's pretty close up there, and his average of 22, also pretty fucking good.
Strikes at 50.
Yeah.
So 431 Test wickets across the 17.
Half
the tests, isn't it? Less Jimmy than
played,
half. So had he been given the opportunity that a modern cricketer gets, that's right. He definitely would have been on track. For mine, biased, I loved watching him growing up, but it has to be, for me, it's Glenn McGrath. That finished his career with an average of 21.64. No one is under 22. That's at
no, there's one at 20.
Under 22 in the top of that list. No one.
Oh, sorry. The top of the list. If you sort by it,
of course. So you got to go down to Ambrose, who's
over 400, but at 20.99.
Yeah, that's right. Ambrose again,
exactly.
pretty good shout. 405 poles at 21. Essentially, Wazim Akram just above him. Dale Steyn, pretty good shout. 439 at 23. So I think it's not cut and dry. Obviously, we're biased. Obviously, Stokes is biased and wants to give his teammate a rap. I'd have Anderson in the top 10. I don't think he's in the top 5 goats. Fast bowlers.
I think you could have a conversation for longevity to make him 5.
That's the only thing for mine that really stands out.
You got to give playing as much cricket is a talent.
100%.
You can't discredit that. And the fact that he's also got wickets is a talent, and his average overall is still 26 after 180 Test matches. I'd still put him in that conversation, and I'd probably say he's around 5-ish.
Look at that, Monks. This is good on how stat. You can actually change the minimum there to how many wickets. So if you set it to 30 wickets, there's blokes from a century ago who are averaging like 11. But set it. What if you set it to 100? Well, that guy actually has 100. So if you set it to 100, Lohman, you got to go back to. He had 112 wickets in the 19th century. Sid Barnes, I think, in cricket chat is a bit of an immortal. But really for modern cricketers, you got to kind of go down to Alan Davidson or Malcolm Marshall. Modern as in post-World War II.
Yeah, Malcolm Marshall and Ambrose.
And then, if you talk to anyone sort of our dad's era, those West Indians of the 70s and 80s in Malcolm Marshall, Joel Garner, Michael Holding and the like, pretty good shouts. Alan Donald up there, very, very good South African. It's just... I think what we're getting at is it's really one of the only categories in cricket where there's no clear cut and dry number one.
Yeah, but I look at those right side ones and I look at the numbers there and I just see Hadley jumping out there for me in that space. So
you're going Hadley, GOAT, fast bowler. Yep. I'm going McGrath. Monks, you got one?
No.
Dennis Lilly, we haven't even mentioned either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if you talk to any Aussies that were out in the 70s,
He might have been the
best
fastest
there.
bowler of all time. Well, that's
That's Jeff Thompson you're thinking of.
Oh, Jeff Thompson. Okay.
Allegedly could bowl 160.
Yes.
But also, you know,
We speak gun technology in there.
well, also our fathers used to walk, 100 miles to school uphill both ways, work 28-hour days and all the rest of it.
Carry 20 kilos of bricks in their bags.
That's right.
That's it.
Thank you, Chaos Legion. Loving the content. Views on Warner keeping his spot in the Aussie side, given his piss poor performance of late. The chat in the Aussie media, Chaos, is that Warner's probably long overdue. The time has been coming for quite some time. Obviously, he made that big double ton on Boxing Day, wasn't it?
Mel.
I think Boxing Day, right at the end of last year. And if you take that out of his last 18 months of Test cricket, the numbers, like you say, are piss poor. I suppose the argument for Warner is twofold. Do we have someone that's banging down the door to replace him as an opening batsman?
Nope.
Marcus Harris has been trialled multiple times and has failed to convert.
Give Bancroft.
Bancroft and Renshaw come to mind. There's also been a lot of chat about promoting Travis Head or possibly Mitch Marsh and having a bit more of an attacking player there to open. But it's definitely been in the rhetoric for quite some time. Davey said that he wants to retire after the Sydney Test to go out at his home ground. Has he earned that right as an Australian legend? One of the best Australian openers of all time. My feeling is yes. He does really need some runs, and who knows? Maybe we're watching the innings that David Warner will be remembered for as he streaks one that just falls short of a third slip against Stuart Broad right on cue.
I was going to say it may also depend on what happens here. If he gets a ton and leads Australia to winning this game,
he's playing to Sydney. If that's what happens,
he's coming out of retirement.
But then, we don't play much Test cricket between now and then either. So
there's none. There's the World Cups, and then we play our 5 Test series again, and it's against Pakistan and the West Indies.
Yeah.
So who gives a shit?
So yes, I think
at home. I'm sorry, it's selections aren't going to be an issue against the West Indies at home.
His average hasn't been great in this series. He
had that 160 odd.
Yeah, he's had a couple of decent-ish scores, but
he's had a lot of starts. He hasn't looked like he did in 2019, where he just couldn't get it off the square, and you felt like Stuart Broad was waking him up in the middle of the night in his nightmares.
And both Aussie and Warner, and like this innings now that we're watching, look positive. Look like they're playing positive. I could very well depend on this game, but I think because, like you're saying, if it was, say, India coming to Australia, maybe a different conversation. With Pakistan, West Indies, I think they'll just let him play to when he wants and he'll retire and job done.
Yep. That's my thought, with a huge 300 against the West Indies. But great question. Thanks for having us. Thanks for being in the chat with us tonight there.
Final thoughts. Do you think we can win this game?
I think we can. There's plenty of time. Obviously, we're going to get a good time. Yeah, we're going to get a good look at it whilst we're on air. We'll
Jimmy,
see
can you
most
give
of
us
the first
a weather
session.
report for us, please?
If we don't lose a wicket in this first session, there's a good chance. If we lose one,
if we're 1 for 100, I think
and then
but I don't think we bat that quickly.
And 2 or more in this first session, and I think that's done.
Yeah,
even with the likes of Smudger and Head in that middle order, it's like we're saying at the top of the segment. Australia hasn't chased this amount of runs in the 4th innings since 1948. So fair bit of history to go there. The deck doesn't look unplayable by any means. It's definitely holding up pretty well. The ball doesn't seem to be hooping miles either.
And they've been talking about it's probably a bit better, more like Australian conditions. The pitch has got a bit of bounce in it, and not variable bounce. It's just it's a bit of a hard deck, and so that maybe that plays well in our hands. But it's just you just get that period of maybe a little bit of overcast and the ball then starts moving around, and that's where 1, 2, and 3 wickets get taken, and then you're just like, damn it. But they seem to be playing a little bit positive. They've scored 16. Got to get 384. I think big being under 400.
Mentally?
Oh, yeah, I think mentally, yes. And that gives us a good sniff. We need these two to put on 50, 75-ish with no down, and we'll take it from there. So I think they're good for weather today. What about tomorrow? What do you got there, Jimmy?
Yeah. it's going to be touch and go this afternoon.
Shocking.
There's
I'm surprised we've had 3 days with no rain.
That's it. Around lunchtime, there's 50% chance rain, and then overnight there'll be rain through. Yeah.
So don't rule out the draw.
Don't rule out the draw.
It's funny as well, just before we move on to footy, all the whinging about rain and how it ruined the Ashes, etc. And then
England won the Ashes, bro.
And then, in their heads. In their heads.
Yeah, in their head.
Yeah.
They're moral victories. That's all that matters.
I've scored Ashes tons in my head when I was 6 in the backyard. It was interesting as well. A bit of whinging going on. Yeah, Piers Morgan being one of them. And then just all the old clips of Poms just saying, oh, well, rain's part of cricket. You know, that sometimes you win like that. You know.
Russell Brand.
Yeah, Russell Brand's playing cricket again. This is my thoughts on drives and physics. It was just funny. A few clips going around that made me chuckle.
Oh, it was the same thing with the Bairstow dismissal as well. Like, it's just a whole rhetoric. They whinge poor me when it happens to them, but then you look back over history and you see all these videos come up, and it happens with everyone everywhere.
Yeah, it always comes. Yeah. Always comes. Something's going to clip
That's
something.
It. Yeah.
Something's on the Gabba. I knew I should have deleted those old tweets.
That's it.
All right, let's see. And apologies for those that are copying a ooh or an ah. Glenn McGrath throughout the rest of the pod, because we will be watching this first session live. Mm-hmm. Let's talk some rugby league. Broncos looking pretty good at the Gabba. Obviously, a few venue changes because of the Women's World Cup.
Reece Walsh back.
Reece Walsh comes back after his spray, not at the referee. It was at Pat Carrigan, who
had himself a game.
Yeah, got off the nudie for the season. You were saying after Alex Twal, it was the longest streak for not scoring a meat pie.
Yeah, I think it was 74 games when Alex did his, so we've probably had 6 or 7 games since then. So
high 70s.
Yeah, high 70s, if not 80. Breaks his drought. So I now don't know who the next one is that's on a drought. But we've had 2 drought breaks this year, so that's been pretty good. And the Broncos just look too good. They put the Roosters to the sword.
They did sit in first for a couple of days until Penrith played. Pat, outside of his meat pie, had a pretty unbelievable game. He played at 80 minutes, 27 tackles, 115 run meters, 4 tackle busts. He's looking like one of the best lock forwards in the NRL. Yep. Tigers didn't play too bad in Tamworth on Friday night. Latrell finally returns after the world's longest calf strain. Be close to 3 months that he hadn't played footy. Looked pretty good. 171 run meters, 11 tackle busts.
I don't think it was a single calf strain. I think it was
re-aggravations.
Yeah.
I'm probably trying to get ready for Origin as well. May have definitely pushed it out a little bit longer.
Yeah, but Latrell back, and then Alex Johnson gets a hattie. Shock.
Yeah, shock. So 12th hat trick of his career. He also went past Ken Irvine for multiple try games, and he's 184 now, which means he's 6 behind Billy. So your chat sort of
still shitting it in
mid-season said he was going to shit it in this year.
Reminder, Latrell's back. Yep,
and reminder they do finish with the Dragons. So it'll be interesting to see how many he can get in the last month and a bit of footy. And the Tigers really played pretty well until the last 10 minutes, and it was a bit one-way traffic there for South. Did you guys see Luke Brooks kick the ball backwards for a... He did find touch.
He found touch.
At least he found touch.
Yeah.
There's a win, bro. There's a win.
bit of win. Poor Brooks. He
was like one of your golf shots, bro.
Hit it backwards. I don't think I've hit... No, if I've
It was a slice.
No, I've hit trees and it gone backwards before. That is definitely true. Yeah, if it was one of my golf shots, it would have come right off the side of the boot and done a 45-degree fade out to the sideline. Mind you, I always get them out of bounds in golf, so no issues there. Into the late game on Friday, the Storm way too good for Parramatta. 25 years for the club, so that must be from the date that they registered as a team.
Yep, enter the league. 98, I think, was their first season. So
yeah, right. And they had their banner and they had the strip titles on their
Well,
display, didn't they?
They had stands for every title. So and they brought out the trophy, Inglis and that. They put the 2009 trophy up there.
Yeah, it's a bit on the nose, isn't it?
To 2012.
You can do it. You just have to have, like, this is the asterisk,
Choose the big
bay
asterisk.
right here, you know.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't care because the amount of shit the Roosters and the others get away with now. Really, all they did was
They got caught.
Yeah, they got caught, and they're only paying.
They're unlucky enough to get caught.
They're only cheating the salary cap at the point which was $3 million, just so they could keep Greg Inglis in the team. You know, and then of course they got caught. Greg Inglis leaves, and then they still go on to win comps. So I think with that spine, Bellamy kind of realised, we shouldn't really need to be paying overs to these blokes. We've got the three immortals in the team. We'll be fucking fine. So and you know. The more I think about it, because I think that way, because when I look at Cooper Cronk's record, I think he gets so unfortunately underdone. I think he could arguably be the best halfback to ever play rugby league.
Wow, huge shout.
Yep.
We can't have another GOAT discussion just now. I'm probably going to chew up too much time.
Yeah. But he's some of his stats, like outside of the Dally M's, but he played 15 seasons and played in 9 grand finals and won 6. Like, that's bananas.
And where does longevity rank him, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, he won. That was my point. He's got 6 rings, bro.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just going back to Jimmy Anderson. Jimmy Anderson to run it straight to Cooper Cronk.
Yes.
Where do we get to amongst that dribble? Jerome Hughes, Rome. He was very good. 171 run meters, 4 try assists to set up the Melbourne Storm comfortable winners. Harry Grant also very good, first half double.
Put 40 on the Eels. That's sending a message. After losing the Knights last week. Knights been a bit hot though.
Knights have been hot, and that's a great little run into the Knights pounding the Raiders at home, 28-6 in that one. I didn't catch much of this. Sean, did you see much?
No, I didn't, but I saw it was 20-0 at half time, and I was like, I'm going to do something else. It seems like the Knights just kept going and maybe didn't keep the foot down completely in the second half, but they won that game handedly. And I think Ponga's probably gone to another level. He's back playing fullback and back playing his best footy, and I think that's really, really helped the team around him. And Dom Young scored tries left, right and centre. I think they're starting to push their agenda there. Tyson Frizzell re-signed with them during the week, so I think they're in a happy spot is the way I can explain that.
Yeah, Ponga, and we spoke about him last week and how good his form has been. He had 200 run metres in this one, a meat pie. Looked pretty good. The Knights now sit in 9th, and with the Cowboys losing, which we'll get to in a second, they're only a point outside of the 8. So definitely a good smoky to bust into the 8 the way that they've been playing.
Yep.
Team that won't be busting into any 8s anytime soon is my St George Dragons. Although they weren't embarrassed, they just don't know how to win these close games. Going down 24-18 at Wynn Stadium. It was DCE's 300th. Speaking of longevity, again, he's 34. He probably has a couple more seasons in him the way that he's playing. There's only 4 players that have 350. Obviously, the great Cam Smith, the aforementioned Cooper Cronk. Darren Lockyer and Terry Lamb, the only sort of 80s player that's had that kind of longevity.
You're talking about Australians?
No, that's NRL.
Oh, NRL.
Sorry. Yeah, so a guy like James Graham, I think so I should clarify, this is NRL games, not rugby league games.
Because he had 400 plus over the 2 leagues.
Correct.
Yes.
So where do we see DCE? If he plays 2 more seasons and doesn't get hurt, that's 350.
Yeah. I think probably when he has that conversation about stepping down as Queensland captain and playing for Queensland, then you'll kind of see where he's dedicating himself to Manly, where his career is probably coming to an end. But yeah, like you say, I think he's got a couple of years left in him. And Manly seem to be liking what they're doing there with Anthony Seibold, and see where they go to.
Some great names that just didn't quite get 350. 349 Beaver, 348 Paul Gallen, 347 Corey Parker, 346 Benji Marshall.
Darius played 337.
Yeah, there's some good names on that list. 300 pluses: Brad Fittler, Cliff Lyons, John Sutton, Nathan Hindmarsh, E.T., Luke Lewis, JT, Billy Slater, El Masri.
We might see a few more names in the future now that they're playing more games and
that is true.
Games.
Of active, there's a fair few active players now in this list with Jesse Bromwich, James Tarmow, Ben Hunt, Jared Croker. So DCE joins them. Manly, just a little bit too good. They dominated the middle section of the game. Zach Lomax has been pretty good last few weeks after getting dropped by Hook for a couple of weeks mid-season. Had 203 run metres in this one, 7 tackle busters. Some chat that he might train at fullback in the off-season. I don't know what kind of message that's sending to Tyrell Sloan.
Well, it's contract. So the issue with Lomax's contract, he's on fullback money.
So they want him to
So that
pay.
So
when he play the way that he's being paid.
So when he re-signed for the Dragons, they paid him fullback money with the hope that maybe that's where he'd transition to. So he was on like $800K a year, and that's a lot more than what the best centres in the league are getting. So that's the reasoning. But if we're going to keep paying him that, then we want him to be potentially playing that position. But you do ask the same question about what does it mean for Sloan. A guy that also said, I want to leave at the start of the year. So,
it's a shit show.
Good questions. But by all accounts, Lomax, who also said I wanted out, him and Hunt seem to have reaffirmed and are going to play out their contracts, is the word. So Flanagan's managed to keep them for now.
Yeah, it's a hard one with Sloan. Watching him this year, he can be absolutely electric when he's got the ball in hand. Just needs to work on his defence a little bit.
Is Jaden Sullivan the halfback? I think they've told him that he can leave.
He can. Yeah, he's been told he can go
because they're going to, of course, keep Ben Hunt now. So
it's looking like a complete clean out.
I feel that way.
All the list of all their salaries actually came out this week, so I'm trying to find
Dragon.
No, for all the NRL players. So I'm trying to find the list of centres, but I'm scrolling a fair bit here. Down to props. Might have to keep talking.
So we'll then lead into the Panthers-Sharks game, and Sharks maintaining their excellent form against top outsides and losing again. Didn't even get off the bus for this one. It was 28-0. Nathan Cleary, one-way traffic to that point. Cam McInnes had to make 84 tackles, I think, in this one.
83, I think.
Yeah, to set the record. So poor bugger, and unfortunate the Sharkies didn't show up for this one.
How about it was 79 tackles, which is obscene, and also breaks the record. But then they watch the tape again. They adjust.
Make sure
they tacked on another 4. Also, probably speaks volumes.
That's a tackle over 1 tackle a minute. So
that's wild.
Yeah,
it's also probably speaks volumes to the way that this game was playing. In that
straight up the middle.
Yeah. I didn't find the centres list, but I do know that Manu and Holmes are making more than Zach Lomax.
But I think they're the only two.
I think he's
third.
He's definitely top 5 and maybe third. So if you're the third highest paid centre in the game and you're getting dropped mid-season by I guess coach that's about to get sacked, like maybe we do need to get more out of Zach Lomax.
Yep.
Because when he's on, he's fucking on.
Yeah,
that flick pass last week to win the game against the Tigers.
Who's the guy that started at the same time as him? There's a connection with another fullback.
I'm not going to
centre fullback.
We're
talking about
Campbell Graham.
Yeah.
No, they both played together when they came out, and he went to Dragons, and I feel like the other one went to Roosters. Maybe it was Joseph Manu. Seeing
I feel like Manu's a bit older.
No.
Come on, your brain.
No. Me amazing.
Me thinking amazing.
I'll let Jimmy see if he can chase up that story with Lomax. There was another player the same age as Lomax. They came out of the same club together. Well, they went to different areas, and one of them's kind of taken the leap as a talent, and they want to see Lomax kind of come at the same spot. They had a very good connection to the story. But, of course, I can't remember who the other player was, which ruins this whole take of the story.
Pretty sure it's Campbell Graham.
I feel like it's
Campbell
Graham.
Graham.
Yeah. Like in terms of ages, they're from different places. Like Lomax from Timor and Campbell Graham, I think, from Sydney. But
anyway, talk about the Bulldogs, how they've upset the Dolphins here.
How old is Campbell Graham and Zach Lomax? Are they the same age? Because I feel like that's where your wires are getting crossed. Because years ago, the chat was that Zach Lomax would be a future Origin player, and
it was a fullback. I know it wasn't another centre.
Okay, well, it's your story.
Yeah, I'll see if I can figure out my story.
Which game do we get up to? Dogs Dolphins, which was today.
Yep.
Dogs win 23-22. Didn't watch much of this.
Dolphins got out to an early lead, and then I think it was a Sacco missed field goal lets the Doggies back into this.
and the Dogs get the win, which means they go 2 points ahead of the Dragons. We had the spoon bowl last week for the Tigers, probably getting the spoon, and Dragons probably finishing 16th with the Dogs win there. And then the last game of the round was the Titans upsetting the Cowboys without Big Tino. Dave Fafita played his ass out. He had 162 run meters, 24 tackles, 12 tackle busts, and a strange sort of end to the weekend with the Cows losing this one. Thought they would definitely win that, but that's only just recently finished.
Yeah. Well, they were leading into the half and then went scoreless in the second half.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Yeah.
Did you get ages for Lomax and Campbell Graham?
He was in under 18s in 2017. So quick maths. It's 24 or 23.
I should say his age.
23.
Yeah, 23. It's like he's still so young.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing, really, that he's only 23. And Campbell Graham would be about that. How old's Campbell Graham?
New South Wales under 18.
This story's going nowhere.
Oh no, you guys keep talking. I'm going down.
Yeah, Campbell Graham's 24.
Yeah, so I feel like that's the comparison. Anyways, we're up to AFL. Have you found who you're after?
I don't know. I'm still looking. You guys can talk about AFL.
All right. Do you want to talk about AFL?
We can talk about AFL.
Hit that butt. All right, boys. Round 20. We've had Gather Round. We've had Doug Nichols Round. Now it's time for Upset Round. The first upset of the weekend. The Carlton Blues go out and beat the Magpies, the red-hot Collingwood Magpies, giving them their third loss of the season. Third biggest crowd of the season too, nearly 87K in at the G, and a raucous atmosphere all evening. Caleb at Marchbank returning into the Blues lineup. First game for the year. He coming off the multiple knee injuries, the ACL in 2021, the lateral meniscus in 2022, and didn't look out of place. 15 posies, 7 marks, a couple of scoring involvements. He was pretty handy. George Hewitt also played his 150th, his 30th for the Blue Baggers, but the night belonged to the incumbent Coleman medalist, and barring an injury, the back-to-back Coleman medalist, Charlie Curnow. He boots 6 goals straight. He gets a best on ground. The Richard Pratt medal gives him 67 for the season. Should go past 80. You'd think. 4 rounds to go. It was sort of been in the zeitgeist recently. The death of the true full forward, and what made Buddy's 1,000 goals so spectacular is that it's unlikely to be done again. Yada yada yada. But Charlie definitely could give the mid 80s a nudge this season. Josh Kenny had 80 in 2016, and then you got to go back to Fev in 2009 for more than 80. So he had 86. So maybe Carlton player to Carlton player, only 14 years apart.
Yeah.
Only bad news really for Carlton was Adam Chera getting subbed off, hamstring tightness. I don't know if we've got an update on. Could you actually just chase that up? Adam Chera. He was looking pretty good. He had 20 posies before going down in the third quarter. Just played better than Collingwood in all facets. Kicking straight obviously helps a big time.
Collingwood were playing like Carlton.
Yeah, kind of a bit of role reversal, wasn't it? And sweet revenge for that round 23 matchup last year, where the Magpies ended Carlton's season by winning by a point, and famously missing the finals. So a good little bit of revenge there for the Blue Baggers. The Flaggers chat is back in.
You bought your grand final tickets yet?
Yeah, there was a bit of chat yesterday with a friend of mine, a friend of the show, Jaffa, if you're listening. It was the first thing he said to me was, I just bought my plane tickets. Have you bought yours? For grand final weekend. They catapult up the ladder. They did get to 5th, but I think they're sitting 7th at the end of the round. $12 to win the whole thing. And they've won 6 in a row. They've scored the most points in that 6-game period, which had been their issue really previously.
Kicking it straight.
And they've beaten number 1 and number 2 in that streak. So I think if we went back about a month when we were thinking, can Carlton even make the 8? And we were looking at this upcoming schedule, and I said they have to beat at least Port or Collingwood to have a sniff. Well, they've gone out and beaten both of them.
Yeah.
Including the Magpies at the G and Port at Adelaide Oval.
Plus, they've beaten everyone else that they needed to beat. So, yeah, they've definitely in the conversation. I wouldn't rule them out. And then we've talked about they had an excellent list, and they were probably playing unders for most of the season. But the last month and a half has been exactly what we thought they could be.
And a quick correction: they beat Port at Marvel. At Marvel, I got confused because they had a win against West Coast, which I thought might have been away, but they've all been in Melbourne. So not having to travel heaps over the last few weeks probably helped a bit too. We'll see. It would be very Carlton-esque now to lose a few games that they shouldn't, but we'll see what happens. Definitely the morale is high on Lygon Street.
Yep.
Cats
lose the Dockers.
They lose the Dockers. They keep the Dockers keep their very, 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 very slim finals hopes alive. It's the old there is a chance, but they'd have to win out and need a bunch of teams to lose. But in this game, Brayshaw pretty good, Luke Ryan pretty good, Tom Stewart good in a losing effort. I thought the Catters would win this quite comfortably.
Yep, I agree.
And
they're at home with it.
This was at Cardinia Park. This was at GMHBA Stadium. So a little bit of a concern. Last year we were speaking about are they too old and too slow, and does the the taxing nature of an AFL season is it taking its toll on older legs? I didn't see any of this. Just saw the highlights.
Where are they currently sitting in the ladder? Because they started slow.
They
finished
the round in 9th, but I think they started the round in 5th or something. Yeah.
It's pretty tight middle pack there outside the top 4. So, they've. That's what I thought they'd be. They started slow, really picked their game up, kind of fought their way into the top 8, and now had a few back to back and slide out the back of that 8. But still there and thereabouts.
How's that double whammy too? So hammies to Mark Blitzavs and Tom Hawkins. So that's huge. Losing to a team that they shouldn't lose to, lose 2 of their top 5 players and drop out of the 8 all in one round.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it. Hopefully, they're not out for too long, but that's not great for them.
That's an interesting stat. One of only 5 Cats to play all 19 games to date. So they've been turning them over, it sounds like. They've got a few injuries there in Geelong.
The upsets continue. The Dogs go down to the Red Hot Giants, or the Orange Hot, I suppose you could say, Kelly Underwood. So they win this game by 5 points, really dampened Bailey Smith's 100th. They were down 46-17 at the half, so 5 goals they were down, and just chased them down. Toby Green booted 5. He goes to 49 on the season. He's only behind Charlie Curnow and Tex Walker, so pretty impressive for a small forward to be up there in Coleman contention, sort of. The Giants, they finished the round in 6th. They haven't lost for over a month, so they're looking very, very good. Another good bloke, we speak about him every week, but he's the All-Australian ruckman and has really just gone to another level with his play this year in Tim Johnny English. His impressive form continues. 25 disposals. I know we always talk about it, but ruckman that are out there getting 25 is pretty impressive. 8 marks, 5 goals, 33 hitouts, 2 goals, 5 tackles. Yeah. Caught myself there. Really impressive if Ruckman's getting 25.
Yes.
Really.
He's booting him from the square.
Oh, yeah. That's 2 seasons worth of goals for me playing park footy. Doggies, they down to 8th and pretty lucky that Geelong lost, really.
Mm-hmm. In the firing line.
Keeps rolling through. Spooky Saturday. The Suns really dominant against the Lions. 41-point winners there in the Q Clash. Good story, this one, of Sam Collins getting to his 100th game. It's a long way to the top in professional sports. Not my best work. 2015, he gets drafted by Freo. He only plays 14 games in 2 seasons, then gets delisted. Not many AFL players make it back to the AFL after being delisted. He goes out to Werribee and wins a BMF for him in 2018. And then the Suns pick him up. pretty quickly elevated through their ranks into the leadership group. 2020 wins their club champion. He signed on for a 4-year contract in 2021, so he's got another 2 years left on that. And last week he had 10 intercept marks, which is a tied AFL record. So congrats on getting to 100 AFL games. We see a lot of players that do this by the time that they're 21, 22 these days, which is pretty incredible. But sometimes people have got to go the long way, and you love to see a bloke in his later 20s, not giving up on it and going out and being part of a really big win here against the Lions. You didn't catch much of this. You caught highlights.
Yeah, the fam were all at it, and by all accounts, played pretty dreadful for the Lions. But they seem to do this, the Lions.
They lose the games that they shouldn't.
They'll play like
generally in Melbourne.
Yeah, which is also true. Yeah, they generally play like 3 really tough, really good football games, and then they have an absolute stinker like this one. I saw Jared got a bit of a headlock and got tossed to the ground. Was the big story, I guess, the big visuals out of this game. But
Jared Berry's talking about it.
Yes.
First name basis.
Yeah.
Looking at the numbers as well, they had plenty of ball in Dunkley and McLuggage. I think kicking was a bit of an issue. 7 goals 13 to 15 goals 6. So it was only 21 scoring shots to 20. So like I'm talking about with Carlton before, if you can't kick straight, you don't tend to win many football games. A bloke that did kick straight, Ben King, he had 5 straight. Big game for him there. So the Suns, much like sort of Freo, although they're 4 points ahead of Freo, are still technically can make the 8. Definitely didn't do themselves any harm by winning this one convincingly, but highly unlikely they'd need essentially to win out.
Yeah, yes.
That gets us into the Bombers and Swans. Mark's a bit of a heartbreaker for the Bombers in this one. 2-point loss to the Bloods in an entertaining game of footy, and Cal Mills 150th. Did you catch much of this?
No, I made the mistake of watching Dragons first and just couldn't handle any more heartbreak. By all accounts, Bombers sort of kept it even up into the half, and then Swans got that third quarter lead and almost clawed it back for the win, but just couldn't get the bickies there.
Pretty unusual that you have 2 of your key forwards go out and kick 5 and 4 in Langford and Wright and still lose the game. Swanee's in a nail biter. I only saw the brief highlights this morning in the sports package on KO. Joel Amadi kicked 4, Sam Wicks kicked 3, and in terms of major ball getters, Errol Gordon, he's good. He had 24 kicks, if you don't mind, 13 handballs for 37 posies, 10 marks, 4 tackles, and a sausage roll to go with it. He's a shout to be an All-Australian this year, which is pretty wild considering he's, 20?
20, yeah.
I suppose as a 20-year-old in Nick Dacos is going pretty good.
Yes. Swans currently sitting in 10th, equal there with Geelong, Cats and the Tigers. They're all in the big log jam.
We'll have a good look at that log jam, I think, at the end of the segment, because it's really from about 5th to 14th. It's there's not much that separate them. Just briefly back to Nick Dacos as well. Probably
Did you get the 3?
It'd be Curnow with the 3, and then I don't think he would have got two. He maybe got 1. So Brownlow race is
doesn't matter.
Good question.
Is he that far in front?
Good question. Well, the only sort of people that were in
Jimmy, chase the odds for us.
Were in.
That's a good,
I did say I checked it this morning. He'd blown out 10 cents.
All right, he's all good.
So he went from $1.60 to $1.70. It's still the same. He needs to get suspended or injured, I think, to not win it. But it was interesting that he wasn't completely dominant in the game on Friday night.
Well, which is probably again, go back to a good point for Carlton to do the job on him, and then, a big reason why the Pies probably struggled in that one.
Well, and a saving grace for him as well is that the Crom go out and convincingly win Showdown 54, which means they're 2-0 against the Power this year.
And Port have lost 3 straight now.
They lost to Carlton. They lost.
Jimmy's got it in front of him. Can you tell me?
Is it 3 straight? Yeah, it is. Yeah. So after winning 13 in a row, in
rough
fact,
month.
The they lost in round 3 in that showdown to the Crom, and then they won 13 in a row there, and now they've gone cold again. So a bit of a dampener for, and it was Connor Rosie's 100th game as well. So a few milestone games for Rosie and Smith and their teams not going out and performing the way they would have hoped. The Crows were dominant in this one. It's been a pretty unusual season for them in that they started pretty well, and they've done the opposite of Port. Went missing in the middle of the year and
is that okay 7 recently. Goals there for Tex?
I think he booted 7. So he had himself an absolute night after kicking.
He's not old.
Kicking 10, a month ago.
2 years ago, they wanted him to retire.
He's so good.
Yeah,
it's pretty wild. And speaking of really, really good, Jordan Dawson, 34 posies in the game, 7 marks, 5 tackles. Could have had himself 3 goals, but he sprayed a couple. So Power, I think everyone maybe have them in the Dave Grohl box now after losing three in a row. They were looking like, one of the best teams in the AFL a month ago, and now big time pretender vibes for them. Or are they just getting their losses out of the way before September? Who knows?
Those 3 were against the Blues, the Pies, and
the mighty Crom. The might of the Crom.
So two top of the table games.
Up and down, and it's a showdown. They're going to lift when there's 50,000 in there at Adelaide Oval, and they're playing their most fierce rivals.
Yep.
But an interesting one in that Port have really dropped off the last few weeks. Quickly roll through Sunday. Saints booted 9 goals in the first quarter. You don't tend to lose too many games when you do that. They kicked nice and straight to 19-8, 122 to the Hawks, who weren't overly disappointing in their showing there. A brave effort from them. Brad Crouch, the best on ground, definitely, with 32 and 3. Into the Tigers going down to the Ds. This one was pretty much even at 3/4 time, wasn't it? And then the Ds pulled ahead.
Blew out of the water in the 4th.
No Brodie Gundy again for Melbourne. So
actually, check it for me, Jimmy. How many points did they score in that 4th quarter, those Tigers?
They must have run home pretty convincingly.
I don't think they scored much, if any.
Not many, if any. Not many, if any.
2 goals is all they scored in the 4th quarter.
2? How many did...
6.
6 goals. Yeah, 6 goals too. So D's really ran home with it, and you see that out of good teams, they can definitely put it on in the 4th quarter. Very big news in this one with Harrison Petty, who often plays back going forward, kicking 6 goals straight in that one. So going to be interesting. Selection-wise, they were trying to sort of turn Brodie Grundy into a bit of a forward, and with him being omitted last few weeks, Bryce Petty goes bang today, and we'll see what happens with them moving forward. Melksham and Van Rooyen getting 4 apiece each as well. I didn't need to say each then, that was redundant.
Toilet bowl?
And the toilet bowl. We had the toilet bowl last week in the league with the Dragons emerging victorious. The West Coast Eagles are flying high with their second win of the season. They win by 5 points, and they nearly left the game at 3/4 time. In this one, they kicked a point in the 4th quarter and were able to just hang on in this one.
Home field advantage.
Yeah.
You'd say that.
So it's going to be interesting. North's percentage is way better than West Coast, 67 versus 50. So despite West Coast winning this game, be unlikely that, with only a few games remaining, that those percentages would shift.
Yeah, one of those.
So they need to win again to not get a spoon.
Exactly. And so we don't like their chances.
They play Bombers. They play, there's a derby game against Freo, and they play Western Bulldogs. So pretty tall order there.
Yeah.
Kangas have, moving backwards, they've got Tigers in the last round, Bombers as well, and D's. Ugh.
Yeah.
Good for the Bombers.
Yes.
Sitting outside the 8, and they play 17 and 18 moving forward.
It's maybe not the best run into the finals for them, though.
Yeah, but you'd rather be there, wouldn't you?
True.
You'd rather be there.
Put 100 on.
You'd rather be there and then lose a finals game.
Yeah, that's also true.
Yeah.
Well, it's better to be in the finals to then lose a finals game, yes.
Coming from the bloke who's a Carlton fan. All right, let's look at that table. So despite going down to the Blues on Friday night, Collingwood still have an 8-point buffer in first. They've only lost 3 games. They're on 64 points. The minor premierships are all but theirs.
Yep.
Into Port, who are a bit disappointing, over the last month of footy.
Got Cats next.
Yeah, that'll be a big one. 56 points. Lions D's, that is the top 4, you'd think. Both Brisbane and Melbourne on 52. And then the logjam of about half the league, essentially, separated by 2 games. So St Kilda, GWS, 44 points. That's 5 and 6. Carlton, 42 points. So that opening night draw is the only thing that keeps them back from those other 2 teams. Doggies, 40 points. And then we've got Geelong, Sydney, Richmond, 38. And then Adelaide, Essendon, Gold Coast, 36. So
Freo.
Yeah,
mathematically,
but I think put a line through.
And they've got Lions next as well.
And even those 3 teams on 36, you'd need a lot to go right for the Crows, the Bombers, and the Suns.
Bombs.
Yep. But like we said, the Bombers play 17 and 18. So as long as they can beat those teams, who else do they play sandwiched in between it? That's the next 2 weeks.
So
and then they play
weeks.
GWS, who's going to be there or thereabouts. So that's actually a huge one in round 23 for the Bombers, provided they don't, shit the bed against one of those lowly teams.
Yeah, that's it.
Who else would be interesting to look at? Maybe Geelong and Sydney's run home there. I'll get you Geelong. So
Port Adelaide.
We mentioned Port Adelaide, then Collingwood, then St Kilda. So that's a tough run.
Sydney have a local derby there against
Battle of the Bridge next week against the Giants, into the Gold Coast Suns, into Adelaide Crows. So
maybe an easy
very
one.
winnable. We have winnable games there for the Swans.
Same for the Crows.
That's a massive Battle of the Bridge next week with the Giants and the form they've been playing.
Well, looking at the Giants as well. So after that, they've got Port. Then they've got the Bombers, as we mentioned before, and then they've got Carlton as well, final round. So that's not the easiest run home for them.
What's Carlton's run home? Carlton have St Kilda.
Yep, tough.
They have Melbourne. Ooh.
Tough.
And they have Gold Coast. And then GWS. So
3 of those teams are ahead of them.
There's no easy run for anyone. It's going to be a white-hot August for footy fans. And, essentially from 5 to 14, there's no guarantee that you are or are not playing finals.
Yeah, that's it. It's really interesting as well because in that logjam as well, it's a few teams are playing against each other as well. So that makes them very important games.
Yeah, almost like 8-point games, those ones, aren't they?
That's it.
The big thing that stands out there, isn't it, is those winning streaks of the Giants and the Blues.
That's it.
All right, that'll be a wrap for footy. Let's go into the world game, the round ball.
Before you get to that, update on the cricket.
Oh, yeah. Great start from Australia.
Yeah, up to 51 runs. Interesting, Moeen Ali into the attack after 9 overs. One, he's come off the bench with the groin strain and is out here bowling. They just showed some highlights from Todd Murphy overnight, and he had some significant turns. So definitely some rough there. So there's something there for the bowlers, and it looks like they're going to expect him to bowl a fair bit because I think there's a bit in the pitch. So he came off on 9, and I think Wokes came on after 6. So Broad and Jimmy Anderson only
Pretty
bowled
short
the
spells.
first. Yeah, very short, which is
interesting
in
as
stark
well.
contrast because they've been bowling long spells where they do like 10 overs. So I wonder if they're already starting to fish for ideas, considering 50-odd partnership already up. We'll have to see.
With Davey as well, on the mental side of things, the bloke's gotten out 17 times.
And he bowls only 3 overs.
You see him off for 3 overs and get, one of the world's most
change it
ordinary
up.
spinners, in my opinion.
Well, they got Wokes on. Wokes actually looked pretty deadly. He was missing the bat a fair bit.
But that's got to be a decision based on the deck. And we did see a few of those ones at the end of Murphy's spell yesterday.
They showed the Joe Root one. It drifted and stayed low.
So a little bit of inconsistent.
So there is some stuff there for the spinners, and I guess.
And they've just brought Stuart Broad back on. That is interesting. The Karate Kid.
Well, I think that's probably because Wokes had bowled 5 at that point. So
what's Wood doing? Wood hasn't bowled yet, has he?
No, he has not.
No.
Interesting. All right, let's talk some round ball. The poor Tillies, other than going head-to-head with the Australian cricket team for viewership on Thursday night, they lost. They lose to Nigeria. We ranked a lot higher than Nigeria. Obviously, no Sam Kerr again was a big talking point. It was a sold-out game, and they conceded a few goals and couldn't chase them back. It was 3-1 really until that real consolation goal right at the death from Alana Kennedy, and it means we have to beat Canada really. We beat Canada, we're in, which is good. It's because Ireland have lost both of their games. It's as simple as that. We win and we're in. We don't have to worry about points differences and
draws and things.
Goals difference, I should say. Draw will make it really interesting.
I think we're done.
Draw. No, well, if Ireland beat Nigeria,
yes, we need.
So we'd be, getting all our lucky charms out and 4-leaf clovers and all the rest of it, and cheering on the Irish, who haven't looked bad really in this. They defend pretty well, but that game also happened simultaneously, so they can't. They won't know. Well, they will know, but it'll be happening live.
Yeah.
They'll be getting messages run out how the Irish are going. And again, if Ireland go up 1-0 early on, does the message go out to park the bus? I don't like that as a strategy.
No. Gotta win.
Yeah, I feel like you have to. Canada are really, really good in women's football. I'll get you a ranking in just a second. Obviously, home field advantage hasn't been huge for us because we were really quite sloppy in that Ireland game, and it was really only the penalty that separated us. So it's gonna be a massive night. Is that when?
7th there?
31st. That's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow. Yeah,
Jeez, that's a quick turnaround. So playing against the 7th ranked team, we're ranked 10th. So. Good for viewership as well, like for sort of general sports fans, and like ourselves, where there's been a bit of overlap. The cricket could still be on.
Fingers crossed.
Or probably should. It really should still be going. So there'll be a bit of that to contend with. But it's a Monday night, and I like that from the organisers as well. There's not going to be any local footy clash.
There's nothing.
There's no Monday night football obviously anymore. So there's no league. There's no Aussie rules to contend with. There's no Bledisloe Cup to contend with. They're just going to get the run of it. So expect a huge crowd in there and a massive TV viewership.
So you spoke about lucky charms before, and Jimmy, can you chase it and confirm for me? But I'm pretty sure I saw yesterday that Sam Kerr has been confirmed officially fit. Ready to go. So that would be huge for us because
one of the best players in the world.
Well, could be the best player in the world, and it would be massive to have her on our side.
You've got the story there. Has he confirmed it, Big Gustafsson?
That's how old your story was.
It's from today.
It's from today.
I think he's tight-lipped, is he?
Yeah, the headline was cagey.
Cagey. Like a tiger, Tony. Tony the tiger.
Not wanting to give too much away, but I think by all accounts, even like a few weeks ago, she would have been ready to play around about now. So
Sam Kerr's quote from yesterday, "I'm definitely back for the next game."
That's from the horse's mouth. Mate, I'd say... it's a calf strain. It's a risk for doing more damage to your calf and missing games. But this is like a finals game now, isn't it?
It's do or die.
It's really do or die.
Yeah.
So tune in and get around the Tillies tomorrow night as they play essentially their first knockout game against Canada.
Yeah. So that the second half of that quote was, but I'm not sure what my usage will be. So whether that's a 30-minute power sesh come on. Try to
impact player.
Yeah, impact player, score a goal late kind of thing. We will find out tomorrow. They're big things.
Playing a bit of mind games, perhaps. There was a bit of that chat as well for the game against Ireland about how the team knew for a while, and maybe catfished a few more fans through the gate by not saying that Kerr was unavailable. We'll just briefly run through the second round groups and how the other groups are looking. New Zealand unfortunately lost our Kiwi sisters in front of 32,000 at Wellington to the Philippines. I was looking at this Filipino team. Nearly all of them are Filipino Americans or Filipino Australians, which is interesting. The rules around citizenship a little bit sort of
Relaxed.
Yeah, relaxed. Let's say
Dual citizens.
Let's say, especially in soccer in general, but it seems even more so in the ladies.
They got a big tough challenge though, New Zealand, because Switzerland is the top of their group at the moment. And
Yeah.
they play them.
So again, it's pretty simple for the Kiwis. It's win and they're in. Is that today's the 30th? That's on right now, isn't it?
Yes.
They're both playing right now.
Could you get a update for that?
See if you find us scores, Jimmy.
Yeah. If I refresh that, will it give us one? I think I just refreshed it, so that's obviously not up to date. That should be happening right now.
So we're looking for Switzerland.
Nil all full time.
Full time. Nil
Oh wow!
It's a draw.
So that means
Well, what did Norway?
what
and
happened in
Philippines?
Norway and Philippines? That's also a
If
draw.
the Philippines win,
Norway won 6 goals.
Norway won 6-0. So that's it. So that's New
What are you
Zealand.
looking at?
That's New Zealand done. That's just. It's not updated on this. Oh, yours is. Wow, what the? I got fake Wikipedia. Look at that. I just refreshed it.
you need a bit hard refresh, bro.
I need a hard refresh.
Have you tried turning it off and on?
Oh, that's funny. So New Zealand are gone.
New Zealand are eliminated.
And
Wow.
Norway, who are really
Sneak
good in
through.
women's football, and had started off with a real.
And that's on
stinker.
goal difference, is it?
Yeah.
The 6 goals.
Yeah. So they really hammered the Filipino Americans. We've already talked about us. We're in Group B. Group C's sorted Spain and Japan, smacking Costa Rica and Zambia. Why didn't we get that group?
England,
The Lionesses, so famously winning the Euros, and fair bit of Fitz coming home chat around the Lionesses, looking very good in that group defensively. I've only scored the 2 goals, but that's all you need to do sometimes. So they'll be going through, and then it's Denmark and China will need results.
China with the tougher.
China has England, Denmark has Haiti, so you'd think Denmark go through there. USA haven't looked like the powerhouse that they normally are. We spoke about, in the Vietnam 2, they won this one. Really bad,
that's
bad jokes there. But USA getting the win against Vietnam, only 3-0. I am a betting man. I think I took them about -6 in that, so didn't get that one. But then they drew with the Netherlands, so haven't looked, leaps and bounds ahead of everyone else, like a lot of people expected.
But that's a pretty tight group. The Netherlands, Portugal, and United States all could go through.
Yeah, well, that's interesting, isn't it? So if Portugal beats the US and Netherlands have Vietnam, there is a world where the
US is good.
where the US misses out. Group F is France, Brazil, Jamaica, Panama. France are pretty much through there. They play Panama, who haven't won, so you think they'll get the biggies, and you think Brazil go through against Jamaica.
Yep.
Sweden hammered Italy 5-0. So Sweden are going through, and then Italy play South Africa, Argentina, Sweden. So Italy just have to win against South Africa, and they'll be okay. And then Group H is Germany, Colombia, South Korea, Morocco. Yours is more updated than mine. What do you got there?
So today, South Korea lost to Morocco. Morocco won 1-0. And Germany and Colombia are playing as we speak. I think that might be close to wrapping up as well.
How about some of those crowds there? So 25,000 in at the Sydney Football Stadium to watch Colombia versus South Korea.
Yep.
A lot of Korean Australians, I suppose, but they're good crowds. 27,000 in. That's a sellout down at Amy Park, or the Melbourne Rectangular Stadium, as it's known for this one.
They've definitely been getting around it.
So big crowds. We will also talk about how TV-wise, Channel 7 hasn't done the best job, I don't think, of advertising. The Tilly's game's obviously really well done, but
the rest of it.
Yeah, you wouldn't really know it's on outside of the Matildas games, I would think, from a Channel 7 perspective, which is a shame, I think. When I feel like when SBS does the World Cup, it's what they do. They live and breathe
it's
soccer.
their marquee.
That's right. You got Les Murray.
TV
You just go, oh, this is what a World Cup feels like.
Yeah.
Whereas, the coverage has been a little bit lackluster, I've thought, from Channel 7.
Yeah,
That's
agreed.
it. So on that Colombia-Germany game, Colombia are up 2-1, 12 minutes into injury time. So you'd think
they're home there. So
they're home there, yeah.
So that's going to be
Colombia
really
through.
tight. That'll be really tight in that group there.
Yeah, so then do Germany and South Korea play on the 3rd? So
Yeah, so that a while away there. Let's just talk about men's football and the big money story, the $1 billion story, $1 billion. Kylian Mbappe has literally been offered $1 billion. In fact, if you want to go to AUDs, what did we work it out? 1.6? 1.6.
Nearly 1.7. If you want to round up.
$1.66667 billion to go play for
one season.
Oh, well, this is for one season. This isn't a
season.
10-year deal. This is for one. This is to go make more money than LeBron James has made in his career in one season.
Yep.
To go play in the Saudi League. Now, does legacy come into things? He's only
Prime.
24. He's probably the best player in the world right now.
Yep.
It's looking like he's going to turn it down, which is crazy. That's kind of like Tiger Woods did in turning Liv down and saying, you know, I don't really want the money. I'm more about a legacy man. By all accounts, looks like Real, although there's a bit of chat around Liverpool. I'd be surprised if he ended up at Liverpool. I
think that's
scary for other EPL fans.
I'd be happy.
Yeah, for sure.
I think the challenge at the moment is his transfer fee, which is extraordinary. Most of the clubs aren't willing to really pay that. So he's kind of in a stuck at the moment. So this idea of this deal was the Saudis would pay the massive transfer fee. They'd get him on a year, and then he'd be a free agent, and he'd probably go play for Real or something like that. So, but the recent reports of Liverpool floating their hats in there. I don't think, some jokes about the MLS, but I don't think that's likely at this stage.
If he's turned down $1 billion from the Saudis, they're going to need some huge money.
Yeah, it'll be Champions League chat. So it'll be the big clubs. And again, continuing that legacy, he's got 2 GOATs he needs to chase down to cement himself as the next generation GOAT in soccer. So I think that's one of those, and they're just going to have to figure out the money somehow.
In terms of legacy as well, the Champions League, I'm glad you brought it up, because the bloke, for someone as young as he is, has won so much. Like, obviously winning a World Cup with France as a 19-year-old. It's been to 2 World Cup finals already, which is
scored the most goals in the World Cup, didn't he? As well?
Yeah, he's done it all. He's won Ligue 1 multiple times, but no Champions League wins for him. So. Pretty crazy. I'm wondering if he's won I don't think he's won a Euro, because Italy won 2022, so Euro 2018, men's.
That's 5 years ago.
I'm trying to go back. Handball championship comes up. You're going to make me do football. Fuck you, Google. All right.
Euro winner.
No, that's not it either. Where... Have I got the year right? 2018? No, because that's a World Cup year, you dumb. No, he hasn't won a Euro. There you go.
Should have just gone to Mbappe's Wikipedia and looked
at
his trophies.
Anyways, did you find who's going up against Zach Lomax?
No, I didn't.
What happened?
I went through the under 18s thing. I was like,
went through every player, and then it was like, fuck, it was Kevin.
Oh, it was probably a Gus Gould story on commentary, and I can't remember it anyway.
Funny. What do we think's happening? I think he's going to Real. I think it seems to be the most likely.
Yeah, I think it was Real, Barca, and Liverpool.
But how Barca's financially shit creek?
Yeah, well, it depends on what books you look at.
Well, that's true.
They'll make some new books. It's like we have no debt anymore.
Come down to Barcelona's Schmorg's cave down here, where we've got all the gold. Is it Schmorg? Schmorg? The dragon of the Hobbit. A schmorg is what you put over a fucking... Yeah. That's a toasted marshmallow. Yep. We'll leave the the dragon. Who's the dragon? That's got heaps of cash. And he's not a poker machine. All right, anyways. That one's going nowhere quick. We'll look at the big European leagues in a couple of weeks maybe, because it comes around quick. It's the middle of August. Yeah. So the APL's only a few weeks away.
Yep.
Pretty wild. Keep an eye on Mbappe in the meantime.
Do you think Mbappe will be playing in the Premier League?
No. I'm gonna go with no. I think he'll be playing in La Liga. Okay. It's not impossible. And we were talking pre-show about how much money, Arsenal's got the most expensive squad in the world at the moment, which is nuts. So yeah, if anyone has the cash lying around after selling Mane a season ago, maybe Liverpool, but yeah, if he's going to command like hundreds of millions of pounds in just the transfer fee alone.
Yeah.
So,
and you still have to pay the bloke. So.
yep.
But he's probably worth it.
And he wants to win Champions League, so
Probably not us.
It's Liverpool.
yeah. Well, they've won it recently, but in this current climate, with City being as dominant as they are, is Liverpool winning a Champions League in his frame of mind?
Don't go to City. Don't need Haaland.
There needs to be a coup if he goes to City. All right, let's actually talk some NFL. It's pretty close.
Starting to warm up.
Hit that button, Mark.
Getting there.
He broke his ankles.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor. He wants to take off his Colts hat. He wants to go somewhere else.
While you put yours on.
Yeah, I put my Colts hat on here. I'm actually not a Colts fan. We just had one, and then I wanted to wear my Carlton hat because they've been so fucking good. So I'll just go this double hat shit here for the rest of the pod. JT, the league's best running back 2 years ago, wants out of the Colts. You got a bit of a story here for us?
Yeah, just requested the trade today. I think another one of those guys getting close to the end of a rookie deal. Looking to extend, not getting value for money. We had Saquon, of course, during the week, taking his deal for an extra $900K over the franchise tag. He's still getting close to 11 mil in total, which is decent numbers for an RB. But it wasn't long term. It's a 1 year deal, and they can franchise tag him next year. So there's no huge benefit for him there, and there's not a lot they can do at this stage. There's some talk about antitrust and how the league has been driving down their prices on purpose, and how do you say the Colts owner's last name? Ursay actually had some pretty stern comments about that antitrust kind of talking as well. And then when Jonathan Taylor requested his trade today, he was very vehement that it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen in October. And, essentially over my dead body is the storyline. So time will tell. It'll be, does he hold out, etc., and whether he can force anything. But I don't think that's going to be the case. But they're pretty happy Anthony Richardson's throwing bombs.
He's on the pup list at the moment, which is interesting because he was on Pat McAfee a few weeks ago and said he's all good to go. So, yeah, I don't know if they'll keep him on that list through the preseason until they sort this out. But it seems like he's not going to be allowed to go.
Yep.
Not a good look for the Colts, with arguably your best player wanting out before the season even starts.
Yep. And, the Colts refusing to pay him, essentially. So.
Well, yeah, they're just doing what the league is doing.
Yep.
Hashtag justice for running backs. Joe Burr, some pretty distressing scenes for Bengals fans with him, getting in the golf cart, which is seems more precautionary than anything. He was wearing a compression sleeve on his right calf, which we don't normally see, so probably he was dealing with a bit of tightness. During training camp, and it's likely that he'll miss several weeks after he's had scans. So that's only really missing preseason.
Missing camp and preseason.
Yeah, nothing to be too concerned about for Bengals fans. I think when it happened, it's the same leg. I think that he had the ACL, MCL on.
Because he rolls out to his right and non-contact, and he pulls up, and you're just like, fuck. Yeah. But yeah, calf strain. He should be right in a little while. And, they kicked off training camp, essentially. I think that was day one of training camp for them. So training camps have started this week, or last week, towards the end. So we're getting stuck into those. Not a huge amount of stories yet. Of course, there's a big, this guy's done this massive thing, or the hype of the off-season has begun. I think the main thing, Bryce Young was named starting quarterback for the Panthers. Anthony Richardson looks like he's pretty close to getting that job too. Nothing official for Stroud out of Houston, but I think that's pretty much sorted. And he's going to be the case as well. the league's getting stuck in, and the quarterback on Netflix has been doing well.
Yeah, you guys, you've finished it?
Finished? Yep.
Have you?
Yeah.
Finished? I'm only halfway through. No spoilers. Do the Chiefs win the Super Bowl? I don't know what happens. It's sick. It's obviously...
it's very interesting.
This era now of making reality TV shows out of sports stars, as first done by Drive to Survive, has been a revelation, I think, for all these big sports leagues, and a really good way to get
behind the doors,
behind the scenes. But also, how do you bring in more casual fans? I've been watching all these shows with my wife. I've been watched the test and
make them more likable.
That's right. I've watched Full Swing, the tennis one, and now Quarterback, and it's brilliant marketing. How do you get people that aren't really super into the sporting side of things? Well, make it about their personal stories, make it about their family, make it a reality TV show.
The story that goes into game day, like outside of, you only see them on game day for a couple of hours. Outside of that, what happens to get to that?
Who are these? Exactly. Who are they as people?
Exactly. Kirk Cousins who probably gets the funny dad tag out of this, but
you like that?
Yeah. But he's like, the dorky dad. He's he owns that, and it makes him more likable than just the primetime Kurt that you see, where he's sneaking it up on primetime. You're like, oh, well, that's just Kirk Cousins. Like, it gives more background to the character, to the person that is actually playing the game. So, officially renewed for a second season. Heaps of people will be turning it down, though. So I remember Tua definitely turned it down. I think Rogers turned it down.
It's pretty invasive. Like, you have to think how much media scrutiny there is around your life as a quarterback, as it is, and then at least I can get away with it and go have the privacy of my own house, and then have Netflix cameras down your face through all of that. So I can definitely see why people are turning it down, but definitely compelling viewing for any NFL fans, and even for maybe more casual sports fans in general.
Burrow turned as well. Allen was one they were trying to get. It'd be interesting. Yeah. Because they managed to getting Patrick Mahomes is an absolute masterclass. Yeah. And then for them to win the Super Bowl.
They would have.
That's it's perfect for season.
NFL's big.
Did you get your script, bro?
Tens of thousands of people are in on it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting as well. Sorry, Monks. That it's the best quarterback in the game. Mid-tier guy with Kirk Cousins,
a long-term vet mid-tier
who's
guy.
Definitely got the talent, but just doesn't. He's got that empty area for a Lombardi in his house. Exactly. And then the struggles of Marcus Mariota, who
the veteran trying to make a team maintain a first a starting drop.
And started reasonably well, and obviously dropped off at the end of last year, and realizing as well that a guy that's sort of struggling or not an elite starting quarterback in Marcus Mariota, how fucking good that guy actually is at football, and it's just it's the best of the best.
Showed their differences in their approaches and things like Mariota, of course, being from Hawaii, the island lifestyle, a bit more relaxed, different ways of studying, and then the hyper. Out there ways of processing studying that Kirk Cousins did in the way they do. And then there's the natural talent that is Patrick Mahomes, plus all the hard work he does to go into it. Like, it's just so interesting.
The physical side for Mahomes as well, all that like off-balance stuff that he's been doing, and the fact that his personal trainer's been with him since primary school.
And a lot of them credit Tom Brady as well for TB12, like off in the background doing the things, and just like how much work he's putting in. If you want to be the GOAT, beat the best, and you could got to do the same. So
that's it.
It's very impressive.
Yeah, and I think the thing that sort of hit home for me as well, though, was like you see all that, you see them preparing for games and going through games and all that, but then also through the documentary or miniseries or whatever you want to call it, like the drive home, like after a game as well. It's not like you don't really think about what the players go through as soon as the game finishes,
especially after loss.
After locker room. Yeah, after loss, they're just in the car with the family, just driving home, talking about the game, what they did wrong, what they could have done better. And it really brings again, like that whole sort of cliche that these sportsmen are humans too as well. Like it's cool to see that sort of side of the world as well.
Yeah, the Vikings lost the playoff game at home, so that for the spoiler for you, Peps, but the scene of him essentially driving home after the game and then recalling the key plays that he missed is you can just see like. It's kind of heartbreaking, but you can see like how much it means to him for them to have played that whole like really good season to lose at home in their first playoff game. Like he's driving home with his wife and he's of course talking to the camera guys in the back, but he's recalling the plays and going through, I missed this. This is the reason why I made these decisions and why we didn't get the first down to potentially get a drive. And you see like he's, the anguish in him, but also like, I'm not sure what more I could have done in that situation. Yeah. So it's pretty impressive.
It also gives you a good insight into how intelligent an NFL quarterback has to
100%.
be.
Like, man,
I've seen that
study
episode where they go through playbooks.
The study is crazy.
Again, watching with my wife, and she's like, "Do you understand this?" And I'm like, "I know bits, like X, Y, Z." Yeah, that's pretty standard kind of American football stuff. But when they rattle off some of those plays, and you're like, "Holy crap, these guys have got it between the ears." That's for sure.
Then they have textbook after textbook of just stuff they've written down, play after play, and then going through it. And then, they've got thousands of plays that they run in a series. Again, to Kirk Cousins, like he had a new coach, new verbiage, new system, and learning all that, trying to get into it, and then, that relationship with them kind of growing. Yeah, it's quite interesting. But to go back to your point, I think if they can get like one of the rookies maybe, a mid-tier dude, and then a top 5 quarterback, that's the show. Like, that's exactly what you want. And if he can manage to figure out who's going to win the Super Bowl again, get that QB, then that's just ratings gold.
Patrick Mahomes around for round 2.
Well, I think it's probably, it wouldn't surprise me if they want to run Paddy back just to have him there because, there would be heavy favourites to go deep.
Well, speaking of, let's look at it. We've got pre-seasons coming up, so this is the first look at the odds, I suppose, that won't be affected by, not that preseason really should make too much of a difference, but the Chiefs are $7 to win the whole thing, with the Eagles at $9.50, and then a few teams at $10.50 in the Bills, Bengals, 49ers, and then you're looking out to Cowboys, Ravens. Jets is interesting at 15s.
That's Aaron Rodgers.
Effect. I still feel like that's...
Rumours Davin Cook's going to sign there, so... Well, we'll kill your fantasy hopes for Bryce Hall, but we'll help their team mightily.
And
Bucks.
Yeah, they're looking pretty ordinary. The Bucks at 67-1 after winning the Super Bowl 3 seasons ago.
Quarterback.
Yeah, those Colts 81. So that's why Jonathan Taylor wants out of there, and the Cards and Texans, no one's expecting much out of them.
Even the Rams have taken a slide.
Yeah, it happens quick. It happens so quick in the NFL. It's probably what makes it really compelling.
I think Rams will be better than that. They've got Stafford back, so they should be better.
Anyways, we'll keep an eye on it as the preseason unfolds. We'll also have a little bit of a break because you're about to be a dad as well.
Yep.
So I think we'll be back next week, and then we'll start looking at when we'll be having a break.
We should have a good month.
About a month?
About a month, yeah.
Depends who you ask.
He's got nothing better to do.
But yeah, it's one of our favourite sports. So definitely looking forward to the season start after one of the longest off seasons there is, probably the longest off season in professional sports.
That's it.
All right, let's do a.
Do you want to talk about this, Sean, at all?
Oh yeah, Sean Payton.
Well, he had a pretty interesting interview overall. He got stuck into the gambling policy. Denver had one of their second-year defensive linemen. He gambled on don't think an NFL game, but he was in a facility, and it was one game, and he got an indefinite suspension, so he'll miss the whole year. And then Payton, had some comments in the regards to. The ownership, they're the ones making the money. They kind of don't want their players to bet on it, then also own all the betting companies. Like it's just hypocrisy. I think is kind of where he's going. And then he got stuck into the coaching job last year and said it was probably the worst NFL coaching job in history. So he made some pretty strong comments, and saying Denver's has to be a playoff team this year. That's his whole goal. I think it was more he was, and he said it in, I think, the first day of training camp at his press conference for that. He was just like, I went a bit overboard. I regret my comments. But I think he was fired up, essentially. It's night before football. He's let it all out and said, we want to win. The team last year, and he went and everyone, he said the owner, the GM, he went after everyone and said that, last year everyone should be aware of how badly they played. What led to the fact that the Denver was so shit, and he's put them all on blast, and I guess in the hope of bringing them all together and really going strong this year.
And that Broncos player was the 10th player since April to be suspended for gambling.
Yep.
So yeah, it's
actually pretty interesting because he also went in on the league as well about the information they provide on what you can and can't do in regards to gambling, and that a lot of it, the clubs throw out and do their own because it's useless. There's some pretty interesting comments on that fact that like they're going back to the league and saying that what you're trying to teach these guys is garbage, and we're having to deal with it ourselves. So yeah, I think there's a lot of questions being asked in that space. Before we get to UFC, can you find a story about Mark Wood? Because the Steamer hasn't been watching the wicket, and has chimed in and asked the question. We're 22 overs in. We've got Joe Root throwing down some shit gets wickets. Some pies.
Please don't get him to get this ball, but he's gone for 9 in the last 3.
Yeah. So where's Mark Wood? Why has Mark Wood not bowled? You asked the same question 10 overs ago. It's 10 overs later. We're 22 down.
I assume he's got a niggle. We've obviously been watching it with the background.
Yeah, they've shown him on the boundary line, like signing things. Like he's on the pitch. So I don't know. You got anything there, Jimmy?
No.
Nothing?
No, nothing.
Which is so strange as well, because he's their fastest bowler, and I think since coming into the side, he's been the most consistent.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just a pure analysis of the deck, and they think that the turn is the way to go. But you don't have a world-class spinner, so I would think, without any sound to go off.
They showed that, man. He's running around like
Mark Wood, yeah.
Interesting. Aussie's up to 72.
It's a brilliant start. We've got 5 minutes till lunch, so
hang on.
Yeah. I think we were saying no wickets before lunch, and we're a real good shout. So definitely had a good start.
They're showing him. They're obviously definitely talking about it. He's out there, and
looking
must
interesting.
Be a plan.
Let's get this final round.
Maybe
done.
it's because they're giving Jimmy Anderson and Stuart Board some extra overs because they're both going to retire.
Yeah, I still think they'd want to win the test.
I also tend to agree, but yes.
All right, final round. Ready to go again?
Come on, Daddy Fingers. I know you missed up the NFL as well.
Anyways, I'm getting rid of my Colts hat because it looks stupid.
I did like the big hat. Like I thought we've got enough hats that you could go up.
Oh, we should do that one day.
Yeah, go through the segments and you switch them on.
Yeah, could have 10. We could actually pre-do it, so I'd take one off. Layers of cheese. Anyways, that's
cheese or onion.
Yeah, I don't know. They're like ogres. This is horrible. Let's get rid of that and start our segment now if we clip this later. Okay, UFC 291 happened today at the Delta Center in Salt Lake City, and important that it was at Salt Lake City because fighting at altitude definitely a factor in a few of these.
Massively, because last year when they went there, nearly every every fighter gassed within the first round and a half. It was definitely a challenge. I think a lot of them went up earlier and trained for a couple of weeks leading into the pay-per-view to get acclimatized to the environment. And I think we saw, there's definitely some fatigue, more than we'd expect for some guys, but they were much better than it was last year. That was for sure.
If you're wondering about that altitude, I did look it up today. 1,300 metres for us Aussie normal
4,300
4,000 feet, yeah, for any US listeners. So definitely up there. Let's talk about this BMF belt. Justin Gaethje gets some sweet revenge against Dustin Poirier. Both fighters pretty evenly well matched in this one, both 34 years of age. The highlight has less losses, but the big loss in terms of this fight was losing to Dustin Poirier way back in 2018. So the Diamond having the mental advantage going into this one, and it took a pretty awesome head kick to end him in the second round. First round, they went out swinging.
Yeah, it was very competitive, very technical stand-up fight to begin. It looked like Dustin was probably landing a little bit more.
Yeah, did you have Dustin maybe
ahead, but Justin was probably landing more of the significant heavier blows. But yeah, then the right punch, right head kick combination was all she wrote. And it was pretty interesting because they talked about the Leon Edwards kick, which was a left punch, left hard kick, but in the same venue a year ago.
I didn't know that was Salt Lake. Yeah. Didn't spring to mind.
Comes full circle.
Monk's got the stats there. 41 total strikes to 27 for Justin Gaethje. And yeah, if you haven't seen the highlight, do try and check it out. The right head kick gets through the guard, and that was all she wrote. What about Herb Dean sliding in? He's safe. Sliding in to steal a run and save Dustin Poirier from copping some extra damage whilst he was down. Big backflip from Gaethje, nearly lands on Dustin and Herb. And then pretty straightforward, Makhachev and Oliveira are going to fight in October.
Yeah,
so Justin wants to win and probably deserves it after beating number 2 there in Poirier.
And considering, you have to check his record for me. Because he lost, of course, to Khabib, but I'm not sure if he's had a loss since then.
Gaethje, I think his losses recently have been Makhachev and Khabib. So I think that's...
have a round?
Oliveira. So he hasn't fought Makhachev.
I thought that was the case. He hadn't fought Makhachev yet. But yeah, so that's creates some interesting matchups at the top of the lightweight division.
Fucking stacked division. It's hard to think of a division right now that's more stacked than lightweight.
Well, it's been lightweight
for a long time.
Couple of years,
so Makhachev, obviously the champ at the moment. Oliveira won. Poirier and Gaethje will switch during the week, you'd think, and then sort of the mid tiers in Dariush, Chandler, and Fiziev.
And then there's, of course, Conor McGregor floating around in there somewhere.
Yeah, I wonder how many Conor McGregor whiskies he was deep when he said that he would smash. I don't think that's the right word.
Slap.
He would
slap both of them.
Slap Gaethje around. It's interesting for Gaethje because if he doesn't get the title shot, which is what he wants, do you take the big money fight? Because I think current Conor gets his ass whooped by Justin Gaethje.
He's meant to be fighting Chandler, and that's not going to happen because he still hasn't entered the USADA pool. So, and he's got to be in that for 6 months. It's all rhetoric with Conor. None of it's going to happen.
Bit over it these days with Conor, or
when was the last time we fought? Justin.
Yeah.
2 years ago, maybe?
Yeah, because Poirier's beaten him twice, hasn't he? Mm-hmm. So it's been a while for Conor, and obviously he doesn't need the money.
No.
So it's for him, it's just about pride and legacy, I suppose.
He's on The Ultimate Fighter at the moment, of course, doing the TV show, leading into what was meant to be the Michael Chandler fight, but it's just not going to happen.
When was that last Poirier fight? That is his 2 last fights, is Poirier?
10 July 2021.
So right on 2 years at the moment.
Yep. That's what I thought.
I wonder how his leg is as well. And Aussie breaks those fibular fractures.
Yeah. All accounts healed and he's been training.
Well, it doesn't take you 2 years to come back from it. I'll put it that way. But in a sport where you get kicked in the leg a lot, it maybe is a factor.
Oh, it's raining.
And rain is coming to interrupt play.
Well, I think they'll take lunch.
They'll take lunch. Hopefully there's not too much in it because we're looking pretty good.
Yep. It's a bit of turn there.
Okay, let's go into light heavyweight. So Alex Pereira, his first fight at 205, and he definitely didn't look out of place.
He's huge.
Considering the weight cut, and Rogan sort of asking him what it was like cutting down to 185. But there was reports he was sitting at 225 plus come fight time. So a pretty amazing effort for that he was even fighting in middleweight to begin with.
Bananas.
7-2, he goes to 8-2 now, and this one was a split decision. Did you think the judges got it right?
I kind of felt like that was the way it was going to go because the second you could have given either way. I think the third was more with Pereira. But you could have argued a lot of the rounds. It depends on what you thought of the wrestling. But I think in the third, I thought Pereira more. I didn't think Jan had the better combinations, but one of the judges gave 1 and 3 to Jan, so which was the split decision. So made it a little bit tougher. I thought 2 and 3 to Pereira made the most sense from the action that I saw. He landed some of the biggest shots, and especially in the second round, I thought that was more his. And he was dominated in the first on the ground and survived all the submission attempts, which was pretty good, pretty impressive. He's definitely working heavily on that. So, trying to get to more of being a complete fighter. So I think in the end, the right man won the fight.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we've had similar discussions on the Esky before. Where do you weigh up significant strikes versus takedowns and timing control? Obviously, Jan dominated that. He looked visibly disappointed and felt that he had done enough to win that fight. But I think you nailed it this morning. Or this afternoon, when we were chatting about it after it had just happened, he didn't seem to do a whole lot with that time in control.
Outside of the first round, the other takedowns he got and the other grappling exchanges in the other 2 rounds didn't really lead to a lot.
And obviously we're biased, but when Volk lost to Markachev and was kicking the shit out of him in that final round, and you start to think, oh well.
And round 4, he just held him down the entire round. I guess it was a nothing round, but you have to score it to him. But he did no damage in the whole round. So
I'm with you. I think they got it right here. I'm a big fan of Jan. He's 40 years of age. It'd be interesting to see if he's still got the fire in the belly, because obviously his ranking will slip a little bit, and Pereira's going to skyrocket up the light heavyweight.
Yeah, well, I think he's in line for whatever. I kind of think of it as like a tournament. So he's won his side of the bracket. So there'll probably be a fight. Or I think your ears. I don't want to say Petrarca because Prohaska. I think he's back, so I think they'll make a fight with him and someone else, and then the winner Pereira and the winner of that would then fight for the vacant belt.
Well, it's hard because Ankalaev as well, who's coming off the draw with Blachowicz, he'd think that he's due for that interim.
So that's why I think it might be him and. Uria and that one, and then the winner that would then fight Pereira for the belt for the unify, and then I guess could come back. If we're following that kind of time frame, and maybe it is Achilles, so it could be quite a while.
Well, it's a tendon rupture as well, so it's like a year from when he vacated.
Yeah. But maybe that could be the first title defense for whoever the winner is, considering maybe that fight for the belt is early next year, maybe towards the end is where they have the. It's all potential. Interesting though, one of Pereira's comments post-fight of this is he wants to stay in, like they asked him, you can stay in the light heavyweight division. He's like, I want to stay in the division, I want to win the belt, but I have unfinished business.
You'd think that's at Adesanya 3.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sounds
/5.
That has to happen.
Yeah. Or, dude's 228, I think, this morning. He's probably 230 by fight time. It's not too far away from heavyweight. John Jones fighting around maybe. He just needs to put 10 pounds on and he'd be almost the same way as what Jones was for that Garn fight. So.
I don't know if he wants that smoke, to be honest.
I wouldn't, for wrestling background, I don't think that's his sort of game plan and what he'd want. But
it's fine. It's hard finding anyone in the world that wants that smoke.
I agree.
Considering what he did to Cyril Garn pretty quick.
Well, I guess use that heavyweights.
Someone might.
Yeah, Derek Lewis. Quick 30-second TKO knockout in this one. Did a bit of a Masvidal. Flying.
Bro.
Can't wrestle if you're knocked out.
Yeah.
This was a wild,
skinny beast as well.
Yeah. He dropped a lot of
He had a six-pack. He had a six-pack.
Close. They were saying a six-pack. I feel like if that's a six-pack.
Some definitions.
Maybe I've got a six-pack if that's the definition. But he's definitely slimmed down a lot, and you'd think that's training for the altitude and maybe expecting a bit of a grappling match here against Marcos Rogero de Lima. Wow, I struggled with that one.
Did better than we would.
And he was the underdog in this one as well, despite being ranked 10 and Marcos being 15, because he's coming off 3 losses, I think. There was obviously the Bam Bam one, which we were pretty surprised about when it happened, because he was a heavy favourite in that Bam Bam fight. And he's also lost to, since then, he's lost to the 2 Sergeys in Pavlicic and Spivak.
Yeah, both ranked above him, I think, at the moment. So.
That's right. So getting his career right back on track. He's 38. They kind of asked him, the interview with Rogan was funny, man. Rogan was losing it when he took his pants off and
threw his cup in the
and
crowd.
started doing dancing in the octagon, threw his cup in the crowd.
Threw a big sucket as well. So.
Yeah, he's a character. And Rogan asked him, did you plan that flying knee? And he said, hell no. There's a long no. I just threw some bullshit and it landed. How much of that is truth, I'm not sure.
Well, I think maybe some of it because he didn't want to, let's stay away from the wrestling.
Yeah.
Let's throw some bullshit to start the fight, see what happens. And he was lucky. He landed with the flying knee and followed it up, and that's all she wrote.
And it was his 14th career KO, which passes Matt Brown to be the most in UFC history. He may never be a champion. Unlikely, actually, that he'll ever be a champion, but definitely will go down as one of the best entertainers that's ever been in an octagon, that's for sure. Be interesting to see what he does at the age of 38. He's obviously in probably the best shape that he's ever been, so definitely could go another couple of fights.
Definitely. And there's plenty of fun fights for him in the heavyweight division, but same thing. You're fighting in the heavyweight division. How long do you want to do that?
That's the thing. The general rule is with these heavyweights is that if you lose, you're going to sleep. Yeah. So, how long do you want to keep doing that? But
put yourself in harm's way.
That's right. Definitely for the fans. Definitely want to see him going around again. And one of the awesome sort of finishes to a fight, and then a bit of carry on afterwards. It was good viewing.
It's always fun to watch.
Now, this actually was elevated to the main card. It wouldn't have even occurred on the main card had the Wonderboy Thompson and Mikel Pereira fight gone ahead. So
Pereira missing weight by
3 pounds.
3 pounds.
So a fair bit.
And Thompson had fought, I think, Darren Till with the same sort of miss weight by Till and then lost the fight. And he was like, I'm too old for this shit and I don't want to miss I don't need to fight guys where I don't have the competitive advantage like they do.
Yep.
I've turned up for the better part of 20 years and have made weight, so I'm not going to take the fight. And all good to him.
Yeah.
All credit to him.
He released quite a long statement. I'll just read maybe the more sort of pertinent parts of it. But he said, at my age and given what I've accomplished in the sport, which is a lot, I'm not here to be a gatekeeper. I'm here to fight for and win a UFC welterweight title. Then I think the next sort of few lines were probably the most interesting. Fighters who miss weight face far too few consequences and are often allowed to fight with a significant competitive advantage. I agree with that. I also encourage fighters that face this situation to follow suit and not allow this to happen to them. So also urging other people to pull out. It means he gives up any chance of a purse, I would imagine, doesn't he, by not taking that fight? So obviously it's not about the money for Wonder Boy.
He gets a cut, I think.
Does he get a little bit?
The other dude's fight. Yeah.
So
he gets the option essentially because it's.
He'll get a small. Was held though.
Yeah, he'd get more.
The fight got cancelled.
He'd get a percentage of his purse anyway.
If they fought.
No.
I think he still gets a bit.
He gets a bit. Yeah. So if it's 100K, he might have got 50K, and he might have got 20 odd from the other bloke's purse. So to do the math.
That's one we need to chase up. Actually, what actually happens in that situation when the other guy misses weight and then the opponent pulls out, but. It turned out to be a good thing for the fans because the Lewis fight goes to the main card and we weren't disappointed by it. Bobby King Green defeating Tony Ferguson, 3rd round submission via arm triangle. Tony definitely pretty popular, it seems. There's a big chance going for around the crowd for him. That's 6 losses in a row now for him. And look at the names. Diaz, Chandler, Dariush, Oliveira, Gaethje.
Talk about a stacked division.
Stacked division. They're all killers. Bloke is 38, 39 years of age. He didn't leave his gloves in the octagon, but you'd think that's time, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it'd be pretty close to it. And he's been in those 4 fights have been absolute wars as well. So he's taken a lot of punishment in this. Do you watch this fight? What do you think if it made to the scorecards? Who was winning?
Say again?
If it made it to the scorecard, so there's another 6 seconds, who do you think would have won?
I think Tony won the first round, and I think Bobby had him covered in 2 and 3. But it was interesting that there was only 6 seconds remaining in this one. I don't think if Tony had held on for that last 6 seconds, he still wins. Monk's got some stats here.
Yeah, it's all those strikes, yeah.
Yeah, it's 145 significant strikes to 68 or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So can you go back to the first round? That was the one that I felt like, no, I don't think.
He might have had the better power shots, but yeah.
Well, he cracked him in the first round and wobbled Bobby Green, and everyone's like, oh, Ferguson's still got power. Rogan's saying the power's the last thing to go. Maybe my brain's remembering that, but looking at those stats, I think Bobby had this one pretty handedly.
Bobby's an elite boxer, and that's kind of his forte. So, it's they did a good job, and he got an arm triangle to finish it off just beforehand. So, yeah.
And in welterweight, Kevin Holland beats Michael Chiesa. First round submission for a Das choke. I was saying to the boys, I don't know what that is.
It looks like an arm triangle, but it's from a different position, essentially.
Get at us.
It's the body position.
Get at us, BJJ fans.
Yeah.
Obviously, not really well versed in the world of BJJ, but do like the UFC. Back-to-back wins for Kevin Holland.
This was at welterweight as well, so he'd come down for this one.
Correct.
So he did talk up post-fight, like, will he stay here? Will he go back up? I think he hates the weight cut, but he's also super competitive in the welterweight division. It'd be hard to say.
Chiesa as well, similar to Tony Ferguson, although not as many losses, 3 on the trot. Including Sean Braney and Vicente Luque. When does he hang him up? You'd be pretty close. Prelims, we won't run through them all, but the two that definitely caught the eye was the other head kick knockout that was from Roman Kopylov against Claudio Ribeiro. Left high kick, it was pretty much good night for Claudio straight away. He's Siberian. He's won 3 in a row. He's definitely looking for a ranking. He had everything was through the translator. Like does not speak a lick of English. Called out the gangster. I did hear gangster in English of middleweight. Sean Strickland. Probably not getting Sean Strickland next fight.
Needs a rank.
Needs to go through. There's a few guys looking for fights that are lower rankings in Hermanson, Allen, Paul Craig. So I imagine he gets one of those and one to watch out for sure moving forward.
Yep.
And Aussie, welterweight, Jake Matthews getting the win against Darius Flowers. Flowers taking the fight on short notice. Matthews very gracious in his victory, thanking him for taking the fight on short notice. And again, looking for a ranking, just struggling with a bit of consistency. There was a low kick from Matthews. The crowd didn't seem to like it, but
so when you say low kick, he kicked him in the balls.
Yeah, it definitely dropped him from some contact with the nuts, but if you look at it, the ball of the foot of Matthews, it's all tummy of Flowers, and the heel kind of just gets the cut too. And the commentators were all saying that's a clean shot. That's a clean shot. Yeah. So a little bit of controversy there, but I don't think it affected the fight that much. And Matthews getting the win and really kind of respectable in the post match. 3 weeks until UFC 292, so this middle of the year, you get pretty treated. Obviously, it's the summertime for them over there. It just seems like yesterday that Volk was doing his thing, and now it's only 3 weeks until 292 with Aljo and Sugar Sean. Bit of boxing.
Yep. So we had Fulton taking on Inoue, who Inoue won that in I think the 8th round with a knockout of his own. Currently, he's a 4-division world champion and the current unified super bantamweight world champion because he won the super bantamweight titles at this fight. Some places have him as number 1 pound for pound fighter in the world. Some have got him about 2nd. But the monster gets a massive win over Fulton to take us forward there. And then we had Crawford versus Spence today. With Crawford getting the win there over Spence, taking away his undefeated record. And again, another top of the pound for pound rankings kind of fights going forward.
Fight of the year, a lot of people were billing it as, and obviously sometimes that's a little bit of mayo, but when a bloke that's 40-0 fights a guy that's 28-0, I think you can definitely call it the fight of the year.
Yep.
I didn't see this. I was watching the UFC.
Spence got knocked down twice in the 7th.
He'd never been knocked down, had he, before, going into this, which is nuts.
And then and then, of course, got knocked out. The ref kind of maybe jumped in and saved him because he was definitely eating some punishment, so he didn't get knocked out. Which was a technical knockout, but it was probably leading that way. Crawford was all over him.
So big argument now for Crawford and pound for pound rankings. Getting the win there, but
three for him.
Yeah, so he goes to 3, and then you just mentioned the monster Inoue, who's 24-0 at 2, and they've got Usyk as the number 1, who hasn't lost, and I suppose heavyweight sort of comes into it a little bit as well. Yeah. Who else?
I think this is just the ranking for this website, though. So I don't
it's the ring ranking. So they all kind of have their own. They all kind of fight over it. But yeah,
who's like 4 and 5 if you keep scrolling down there? Errol Spence, who we just met.
Canelo. Canelo's got Carlo coming up. So not Hanny, who's there, number 7. He's the one that's semi-ducking. No, Carlo's the one ducking Zoo at the moment, but Henny's got a big fight, I think, coming up, booked soon. And then Davis, who won not that long ago as well, is in that conversation for one. Does he fight one of these guys as well? Like, because they're all kind of in the similar sort of weight ranges. So it's heating up in boxing.
Big time. It's good for boxing.
Definitely. This year's been elite for boxing.
Yeah. All of us obviously lean a little bit more UFC, but the boxing's definitely been compelling in recent times.
Yep. And then Jake Paul, Nate Diaz, which I thought was this weekend, is actually next weekend.
We'll see what happens there.
Yep.
I'm kind of interested, actually, to be honest, in what Nate Diaz can do.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you think this would probably be Jake Paul's toughest fight?
Well, he lost to Tommy Fury, so no.
Actually, I forgot about that one.
But Tommy Fury in that KSI fight, they're still bickering about contracts.
Yeah.
So it may happen at the end of the year, it may not. We'll see.
You reckon, but going to that point, Diaz could really put some on it. Like, I think he's definitely stepping up in the quality of guys that he's boxing.
Yep, definitely.
All right, give us a nil.
We'll finish with the F1.
Sebastian Vettel.
The Belgian Grand Prix about to kick off. Max won the sprint race. Shauno?
Yep.
Run us through it.
Yeah, they're at Spa and it's been raining, of course, as it does. So the sprint race was delayed. Oscar, the Aussie, qualified second for the sprint race.
Unreal.
So Max did end up winning it, but since they had to start on wet tyres behind the safety car, most of them pitted on the first lap. Oscar did.
Same thing that what happened to Lewis Hamilton last year.
Yeah, but some of them stayed out, some of them went in.
Was it pissing down at Spa last year?
Yes. So Spa, they cancelled Spa last year. So by all accounts, there's a bit of rain for tonight's GP, but hopefully they'll get a space of some sun to be able to get the race in. But Oscar did actually lead this race, led the first laps of his career in an F1 car, which has been very good for him and for McLaren. So he did finish second, got his first podium as well for a good haul of points as well out of this. They have slightly different qualifying, so I'm not 100% sure if I remember where he qualified for the main race. But I know Ricardo was 9th in the sprint race, but is starting 19th, I believe, for the GP.
Wow.
So, we'll see. And Alpine's having a bit of trouble at the moment. Lots of people are leaving the team. The team principal and the chief engineer are leaving after this race. So they're out as well. So, no, I couldn't find any reports of whether they're stepping down or got sacked. But they're going to have replacements because this is the last race and then they go on the summer break. So then they have a couple of weeks off. So they might have new ownership, new leadership, for the next race.
That's it, yeah. So for that starting grid, in about an hour's time.
Verstappen has a five-place penalty.
Yep.
Because he took a gearbox.
So he'll start 6th. In front of him, Charles Leclerc took pole position. Sergio Perez locks out the front row there. Yep. And then we've got Lewis Hamilton and Carlos Sainz in the second row, and Oscar Piastri is just in front of Verstappen there at 5th.
And Lando?
Yep, Lando's straight after Max. We've got George Russell, Fernando Alonso, Lance Stroll rounding up top 10 starting positions. Yuki Tsunoda, Ricciardo's teammate, is in at 11th, and then we've got Pierre Gasly, Valtteri Bottas, Esteban Ocon, Alex Albon, Kevin Magnussen, Zhou Guanyu, Logan Sargent, Danny Rick, all the way down in 19th, and Nico Hulkenberg at the back of the field.
One reason I asked about Lando is because Oscar's in this GP has outqualified him in both aspects, and of course scored more points, finishing second. So maybe taking a bit of a lead in their McLaren, because it was interesting. Because where were they last week?
They were in Hungary.
There was interesting pit strategy there where they pitted Lando ahead of Oscar, even though Oscar, I think, was running third at the time. So, a bit of favoritism for their first driver, maybe. But Oscar has really shown his ability as a rookie driver. He's the first rookie driver to podium in like 10 years or some shit like that. So, it's pretty impressive. He's gone... McLaren have found speed at the right time of the year after being
their package
dismal.
Update was crazy good.
And I think the new tyre compounds have really worked well for them, unlike Aston Martin, where they've kind of gone backwards. They've been starting to come along. So I'm hoping for a big race for Oscar in this one. Maybe he's going to follow Max around a little bit.
That's it. It is interesting as well, like that whole McLaren's team, like there's been rumours of Lando talking to other teams and managers and contracts,
Ferrari, Red Bull,
talking contracts and stuff. So whether McLaren does start looking at Oscar as the future and starts giving you preferential treatment.
I think they'd want to keep Lando, so maybe that was also the reasoning. They play nice with Lando. But Oscar, could be the future. And he's won everything, every championship he's been in leading up to being in F1. So he's got the pedigree, he's got the talent, and just needs to be put in the right team, the right car, and he could be a future world champion.
Well, that's the question: is McLaren the right car?
Yeah, definitely. Yep. But start there, and then maybe Mercedes or Red Bull come knocking.
Possibly. To get through Spa first.
Hopefully it doesn't rain the whole race.
Yeah. That'll wrap us up.
Yes.
That'll wrap us up.
That'll wrap us up on the Esky. Thanks to those that have listened. Thanks to Chaos Legion in the chat there, David Warner question. And hopefully everyone's going well, whether you're in the car, out of the tools, or wherever you might be catching the Esky this week. Have a good one. Next weekend, we'll know the fate of the Aussies in the cricket at the Matildas tomorrow night. Start to get another week, to look into those finals for the league and the AFL, and we'll be setting up for a little bit of a break at some stage when Monks becomes a dad.
Yeah,
let's go. All right, until then, we'll catch you next week. This has been On The Esky.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.